Lin Ming's trip to the giant city had resolved two things. Giant city, whether it was the most border or the most central giant city, did not allow the trading of humans. The second thing was that Lin Ming had suppressed almost half of the underworld's strength. The underworld probably would not recover for many years. What Lin Ming didn't know was that he had only attacked once, but the underworld and this world hadn't fought for more than half a year. Now, just as Lin Ming was about to leave, there was a loud bang in his head. His dark element power was suddenly out of control. Lin Ming quickly adjusted his state and controlled his dark element power. Lin Ming frowned. This was the first time his magic power was in disorder. Suddenly, Lin Ming felt a pulling force appear around his body. Lin Ming didn't resist the pulling force. Instead, he followed the pulling force and took big steps forward. As Lin Ming continued to move forward, a crack appeared in front of Lin Ming. This crack appeared out of thin air. Master, this crack has the aura of the Demon King. Sensing the aura of his previous master, Bai Han appeared beside Lin Ming. Lin Ming nodded. He could also feel it. At this moment, he also knew why. The dark magic in his body just now was not under his control. The dark magic power in his body was directly created by the Demon King. There must be something related to the Demon King in this crack. The disorder of the dark magic power just now was to create a pulling force. Lin Ming looked at this crack and pondered for a moment, but he still took a step forward. As Lin Ming's body was surrounded by dark magic, the huge pulling force made Lin Ming's strong body feel a piercing pain. Lin Ming stood still. When he looked up, he saw the dark environment and the ruined village. Where is this? Lin Ming looked around. Everything here gave him a strange feeling. Here, the magic elements were thin. Only dark magic elements were reasonable here. Lin Ming walked to the village, ready to investigate. Don't come over. In the village, there were only a little girl and a little boy who had just learned how to walk. As Lin Ming approached, the little girl held a branch and looked at Lin Ming nervously. Don't be afraid, uncle is not a bad person. Lin Ming controlled his face and showed a kind expression. HMPH, you are all bad people. My parents were taken away by you. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the little girl spoke loudly. Your parents were taken away? Where are the other people in your village? After hearing the little girl's words, Lin Ming asked. All of them were taken away. Only when I took my younger brother to the riverside was I not discovered. The little girl looked at Lin Ming and finally relaxed. She brought her brother to the river to play. When she returned, she saw a group of people barging into her village and taking everyone in the village away. Fortunately, the little girl reacted quickly and brought her brother to hide in the grass. Only then did she escape. At this moment, she was still in shock. She only acted like this when she saw Lin Ming. Lin Ming looked at the little girl and felt very pitiful. Do you know where this is? Lin Ming asked the little girl. Fran village, the little girl said. After Lin Ming heard it, he nodded. This answer was actually no different from not saying it. Can you take us to find my parents? Looking at Lin Ming, the little girl asked. Lin Ming nodded and walked into the village. This village was no different from other villages. Therefore, Lin Ming couldn't find any clues here. Lin Ming gave the little girl and the little boy some food. Lin Ming continued forward and brought the two of them. After all, if Lin Ming left them here, the siblings could only wait for death. Lin Ming took the two of them and controlled the spiritual sail to fly a long distance before they saw the next village. Lin Ming landed the spiritual sail and walked into the village. As Lin Ming entered the village, everyone in the village looked at Lin Ming nervously. It could be seen that they were used to living in fear. Who are you? In our village, strangers are not allowed to enter. A young man seemed to have mustered up the courage to come over and say these words to Lin Ming. If it weren't for Lin Ming bringing his two children, they would have already started to flee in all directions. Lin Ming didn't understand why they were living such a fearful life. Could it be that so many villages were under the same pressure? I saw a few villages that were all empty. Why is that? Lin Ming asked. I don't know. If there's nothing else, please leave. The middle-aged man said. I have no ill intentions. Moreover, if I have ill intentions, I won't have this attitude. If you know, please help me answer. Lin Ming didn't have a temper towards this kind of unarmed ordinary person. At this moment, he was still indifferent. As he communicated with this middle-aged man, it's because the people from the army took them away, and the people who were taken away never came back. At this moment, an old man suddenly spoke. The army? Lin Ming frowned. In the matter of trading humans in Giant City, it was just an organization. At the moment, it was the army that was capturing these innocent humans. Do you know where they took them? Lin Ming continued to ask. The people that were taken should be doomed. The old man sighed and said, why do you say that? Lin Ming frowned. The powerless humans were like fish meat. That was at the mercy of others. Because these armies, be it the old or the children, were not spared. If it were just to expand the army, they would not do this, the old man said. After hearing the old man's explanation, Lin Ming nodded. Looks like this place is even darker. Lin Ming couldn't help but speak. In the empire, there were many villages and so on, but the humans inside still had some protection. They wouldn't live in such a state of fear. The empire would also have people to protect them. However, here, these humans were like animals in captivity. They might be taken away at any time, be it women, children, or anyone. This matter did not have much to do with Lin Ming, but since he had come here and promised the little girl, Lin Ming had to at least fulfill his promise, to help the little girl find her parents. Lin Ming was definitely not someone who meddled in other people's business. However, if evil met Lin Ming would definitely stand on the side of justice. At this moment, when evil met Lin Ming would definitely maintain his bottom line, no matter where he was. Doesn't your village have a strong mage or secret swordsman? Lin Ming asked. There is, but who would stay in such a place when they have the power? You have to know that the resources in any city are much better than this place. The old man said, why don't you go to the city? The current situation reminded Lin Ming of the humans who were bought and sold by Giant City had come. They were not in any city, nor did they have anyone to protect them. If we enter a city, we will only be treated as slaves. Here is still good. The old man shook his head. This place was too cruel. To be able to live was an extravagant hope. Furthermore, our country only has 3 cities. The cities are all filled with power, and there are no ordinary people. Ordinary people like us who are unable to cultivate will spend our lives waiting for death. The old man continued to speak. Only 3 cities? Hearing this, Lin Ming frowned. He suddenly understood something. These humans were, in essence, reared by the people in the cities. When they needed these humans, they would send troops to capture them. This was the first time Lin Ming had encountered such a thing. What empire is this? Lin Ming asked again. After all, Lin Ming had traveled through so many empires, but this was the first time he had encountered such a thing. Empire? What empire? After hearing Lin Ming's words, the old man asked in a daze. In our world, there has never been an empire. The entire world is connected together, a young man said. In other words, there are only 3 cities in the entire world? Lin Ming frowned and asked. There was no empire in this place. Lin Ming was starting to wonder if he had passed through the crack and entered another world. Of course, this thought only crossed his mind for a moment. After all, these humans didn't have any power. It would be very difficult for them to travel a long distance on foot. Therefore, it was normal that they didn't know about the empire, and the city they were talking about might be the city that was close to their village. Didn't any magical beasts attack your village? Lin Ming looked at the empty forest around him and asked. No, although the people in the city will occasionally take away some people from the village, they will also clean up the magical beasts regularly. They won't let us, the villages that survived, be attacked by the magical beasts, the old man answered. Lin Ming nodded after hearing it. At this moment, he knew even more that the people in these villages were kept in captivity. The reason why they hadn't been taken away wasn't because they hadn't been discovered, but because they weren't needed yet. And the reason why they had been taken away, including the elderly, women, and children, was that they were definitely doomed. Suddenly, the surroundings of this village were surrounded by a thick layer of ice, and in the sky, a person jumped down. It seems that your village is also needed. Lin Ming looked at the villagers and said. The villagers huddled together nervously. Most of them closed their eyes. In this place, such things were actually already accepted in their hearts. They were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Brother, I am afraid. As the village was surrounded, the little girl hugged Lin Ming. Don't be afraid, Lin Ming said calmly. As he looked at the surrounding army, there were 3 mages in the army. Oh, there's a mage? Lin Ming stood in the middle of the village, looking out of place. After all, everyone here was an ordinary person, and in this world, there really weren't any strong people, and they were still in the village. Please take out your token, a mage in the army spoke. Token? Lin Ming frowned. He had just arrived here, so there was no token. My friend, today we will take away everyone in this village. Please do not stop us. Seeing that Lin Ming did not take out his token, they did not have much reaction. After all, in this world, although most people were already numb to it, there were still some chivalrous people. Right at this moment, they regarded Lin Ming as such a person. However, these chivalrous people weren't actually very strong. After all, upon reaching a certain level, they would be taken in by the sage realmal experts of this world. Thus, when facing Lin Ming, they didn't have too many worries. Test, can you take me away? I'll replace them. Lin Ming looked at the mage and asked. Friend, you have to know that even if you protect them today, they won't be able to escape this fate. The mage spoke to Lin Ming. I'm a maid. Can't I exchange for their lives? Lin Ming spoke. This is really life. If you're willing, that's fine too. The mage thought for a moment and spoke. Lie. Lin Ming frowned and spoke coldly. You don't have to pretend to be ignorant. Their role is to supply energy, blood, and soul. If you want to replace them, I'll allow you to replace half of the village. After all, there aren't many who are willing to sacrifice a mage now. The mage opened his mouth and said. After hearing this, Lin Ming's heart was in turmoil. Even if he had prepared for the worst, he didn't expect that these people would be brought to be sacrificed. You mean to sacrifice them? That old, young, women, and children are all like this? Lin Ming frowned. That's right. The mage was already getting impatient. After all, in his opinion, as a mage, Lin Ming definitely knew these basic things. The children too. Lin Ming looked at the little girl and little boy beside him and asked, That's right. If you don't have anything else, please leave. I'll take what you said just now as a joke. The mage said, What if I don't leave? Lin Ming snorted. He wanted to sacrifice everyone in this village, regardless of whether it was the elderly, the young, the women, or the children. At this moment, Lin Ming had met them. He had to take care of them. You have to know the consequences, the mage said coldly. His patience towards Lin Ming had already run out. Save us, please, don't let us go. Behind Lin Ming, the entire village seemed to be grasping at straws, because in their eyes, mages were the most honorable. They could kill with a single thought. If Lin Ming left at this moment, they could only welcome the fate of being sacrificed. You want to go against the entire world? Looking at Lin Ming, the mage spoke impatiently. I don't dare. I just simply don't like you. Lin Ming chuckled. Kill him. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the mage's expression completely changed, and he spoke coldly. Hearing the mage's orders, the soldiers behind him immediately attacked. Lin Ming snorted coldly and immediately cast a flame spell. You don't know life from death. Seeing Lin Ming attack, the mage also snorted. The armor these soldiers were wearing was reinforced by the power of a Sage Realm expert. Ordinary spells wouldn't be able to cause any substantial damage. Interesting. Lin Ming looked at his weakened flame spell and nodded. If that's the case, Lin Ming sneered, and his figure disappeared from where he stood. He just happened to want to test the strength of his power of energy and blood, which had increased tremendously on his body. Vav! Lin Ming's attack had pierced through the chests of several soldiers. This is impossible. Looking at Lin Ming, who had attacked, the mage said in disbelief. The power that this armor could resist was not just magical power. Secret swordsman, berserker, and so on. Their power would be blocked and consumed by the armor. However, Lin Ming had penetrated so many soldiers with just one punch. A good show is still to come. Lin Ming sneered and attacked again. In an instant, all the soldiers in the army fell to the ground, and they were already dead. In the blink of an eye, Lin Ming had killed all of them. Oh! The three surviving mages looked at Lin Ming, not knowing what to do. Their bodies were already trembling. Who are you? Shouldn't an expert with such power be loyal to a sage? Why would he come here to protect these ordinary villagers who should be sacrificed? Of the three of you, I will only keep one. It's up to you. Lin Ming looked at the three of them and said. Lin Ming was too lazy to answer their questions. After hearing Lin Ming's words, their first reaction was to run away. However, Lin Ming didn't give them any chance at all. He directly used the Wheels of Wrath to kill one of the escaping mages. Lin Ming also conveniently killed one of the remaining two mages. Grandpa, please spare my life. The surviving mage kept kowtowing. He could see that if Lin Ming wanted to kill him, it was probably just a matter of thought. I have a few questions. Lin Ming opened his mouth. Feel free to tell me. I will definitely tell you everything I know. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the mage quickly opened his mouth. Alright, I want to ask you, what empire is this? Lin Ming continued to ask this question. Empire? In our world, there is no empire. After hearing Lin Ming's question, the mage also gave the same answer. There are only 3 cities. The mage continued to speak. After hearing the mage's answer, Lin Ming frowned. Could it be that he had really changed the world he was in? Why did you sacrifice them? Lin Ming asked. Because we need their energy and blood and soul to awaken the Grand Elder. The mage answered honestly. Awaken the Grand Elder? What Grand Elder? When Lin Ming heard this answer, he knew that things were definitely not simple. It's said that a mighty figure from a long time ago was forced into a deep sleep after the battle. However, the Grand Elder's realm has surpassed the Sage realm. The mage told Lin Ming everything he knew. Surpassed the Sage realm? After hearing the mage's words, Lin Ming was no longer calm. It should be! This mage actually didn't know much. Then let me ask you, how much progress have you made in awakening? Lin Ming asked. Someone who had surpassed the Sage realm was in a deep sleep. I really don't have the qualifications to know this. Hearing Lin Ming's question, the mage shook his head, indicating that he didn't have the qualifications to know. Thank you for saving my life. At this moment, the villagers who had come to their senses kowtowed to Lin Ming. I can protect you for a while, but I can't protect you for a lifetime, so you need to move out of this place. Lin Ming looked at these poor villagers and said, more than half of these villagers Old, young, women, and children had to be relocated. In the face of this environment, there would definitely be casualties. Let's go. Bring me to see your city. Lin Ming turned around and said to the mage. Okay, okay. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the mage hurriedly nodded. The mage led Lin Ming to one of the cities. Lin Ming followed behind, neither too fast nor too slow. This is it. The mage looked at the ancient city wall in front of him and said, if you want to enter the city, you need a token. This mage was worried that Lin Ming would kill him on the spot, so he quickly said. Lin Ming looked at this mage as if he were looking at a retard. If he killed him, wouldn't he still be able to take the token? But at this moment, Lin Ming had no intention of killing him. Let's go. Whether I kill you or not doesn't depend on the token at all, Lin Ming said directly. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the mage quickly trembled and led Lin Ming to the city gate. There were actually many soldiers guarding the city gate. This was the first time Lin Ming had seen such a situation. However, if there were only 3 cities in the world, it would make sense for there to be so many soldiers. Save me, there are traitors behind. As he approached these soldiers, the mage also became bolder. He suddenly approached these soldiers and shouted. Lin Ming, who was behind him, guessed this scene and immediately attacked, killing the mage. Lin Ming's figure changed. He thought that these soldiers would treat him as an enemy and attack him. However, these soldiers seemed to be used to it. Please tell me your level. A soldier walked forward and said to Lin Ming, Dark Mage, level 9. Lin Ming directly displayed dark magic. After all, in this place where the fire element was poor, it was easier for these people to believe that it was dark magic. Greetings, esteemed level 9 Dark Mage. After hearing Lin Ming's realm, the soldier who spoke directly bowed to Lin Ming. In this world, the strong would be respected even more, especially after that big battle. At this moment, mages above level 7 were all treasures. Even the previously disliked mages below level 7 were being watered by a large amount of resources at this moment. Therefore, Lin Ming was a sought-after treasure in this world, not to mention Lin Ming killing a mage, who was not even at level 6. Even if he killed a mage of the same level, these soldiers were not qualified to restrain Lin Ming. Okay. Lin Ming nodded and did not waste any more words. He directly entered the city. After entering, Lin Ming once again found that this world was different. In the city, there were actually magical beasts that were born with intelligence. And these magical beasts actually had humans following them around. In the city, there were also other races. For example, the dwarves in the blacksmith shop. The owner of the restaurant was an elf. It could be said that in this world's city, all races coexist under the same roof. This point was still very different from the world Lin Ming was in. The dwarves lived in the dwarf tribes. The elves lived in the elf forests. As for the magical beasts other than human mounts, they could not enter the cities. Make way! A force appeared behind Lin Ming. A berserker was behind Lin Ming, trying to push Lin Ming away. Lin Ming did not move at all, while the berserker behind him was pushed back by a rebounding force. Meanwhile, this berserker only felt the blood in his body surging violently. He was actually unable to stabilize his body for a moment. I'm sorry, please forgive me. This berserker felt the power coming from Lin Ming's body, and immediately became terrified. After all, in this world where the strong reigned supreme, if Lin Ming wanted to attack and kill him, no one could control him. Lin Ming glanced at the berserker and ignored him. This city was really interesting. Lin Ming walked into a restaurant, walked to the highest floor, and sat down. Excuse me, what would you like to order? Just as Lin Ming sat down, a female elf with a graceful figure appeared in front of Lin Ming. Hot wine and signature dishes will be fine, Lin Ming said. Okay. The female elf nodded and turned to leave. Come, have a drink with this man. A rough voice appeared behind Lin Ming. A female elf was being held in the arms of the owner of the rough voice. Rawr! Suddenly, a golden arrow shot directly into the head of the straw man. The muscular man fell to the ground and lost his life. The people around him didn't even look at him. This kind of thing was the same as before. They were used to it. This world was so cruel. If someone took your life for no reason, it would be fine. But if you wanted to die, you couldn't blame anyone else. Lin Ming looked at the corpse that was quickly cleaned up, and turned his eyes back to the outside. After Lin Ming had rested, he stood up. Hello, the total is 238 spirit coins. Please pay. Just as Lin Ming was about to leave, the female elf from earlier suddenly appeared again. Okay. Lin Ming nodded. When he opened his interspatial ring, he was suddenly stunned. Spirit coins? In Lin Ming's world, gold coins had always been used. At this moment, one had to pay spirit coins for meals. Sir, are you thinking of eating for free? Looking at Lin Ming, who had suddenly stopped, the female elf's expression suddenly changed. No, it's just that I only have gold coins in my hands. I've never seen the spirit coins you mentioned before. Lin Ming explained. After all, he had eaten someone else's food, and he did not have spirit coins. Gold coins? After hearing Lin Ming's words, the female elf frowned. Don't try to fool me. I've never heard of this thing. The elf spoke. This is the thing. Lin Ming took out a gold coin and handed it to the elf. Seeing the glittering gold coin in front of her, the elf couldn't put it down. After all, there were not many minerals in the world, therefore, gold coins couldn't be circulated. These are gold coins? The elf asked Lin Ming. Nah. Lin Ming nodded. If this was not gold coins, what was it? Boss, someone is eating for free here. After hiding the gold coins in her hand, the elf said loudly, Sir, do you have any problems? An elf appeared, but he didn't get angry. Instead, he asked Lin Ming indifferently. No. If he directly swore, Lin Ming would probably explode. Take it out. The elf turned around and looked at the female elf. Boss, the female elf was at a loss. Take it out. The elf spoke again. The female elf nodded and took out Lin Ming's gold coin. Friend, today's meal is on the house. However, please don't take out gold coins, the elf said to Lin Ming. After all, the gold coins don't belong to this world. The elf looked at Lin Ming and said, through the gold coins. He knew that Lin Ming was not from this world. Thank you. Your world is indeed very different. Lin Ming took the gold coins and said. Lin Ming knew that he had entered another world through so many clues. However, he also didn't know why this elf would help him hide it, and even skip the food and wine. Play as Liu. After all, we have some family business here. I don't want to ruin it for nothing. The elf looked at Lin Ming and spoke again. Okay. Lin Ming nodded. Since the other party was polite and didn't provoke him, Lin Ming naturally wouldn't lose his temper. Lin Ming walked out of the restaurant and looked at the street. People were coming and going, and this city could be said to be incomparably huge. In Lin Ming's world, even if there were 10 cities, they would not be as big as this city. And the reason why there were only 3 cities here was probably because of this. Lin Ming walked aimlessly on the street. The street in front of him actually had a feeling that there was no end. At this moment in the palace within the city, someone killed our army. A cold voice sounded. One had to know that in this world, although the strength of soldiers wasn't too strong, no one dared to touch them. After all, that was the majesty of a world. At this moment, someone actually destroyed their entire army. I'll go check it out. Another voice sounded. In this world, if you killed a mage and so on, as long as he was not a member of the army, no one would care about you. But if you touched the army and so on, which was also the executor of the world's most powerful person, you would definitely be attacked because they represented the face of the world's most powerful person. For so long, no one had looked for this stimulation. However, with the appearance of Lin Ming, this balance was broken. Okay. As the voice fell, the search quickly began. At this moment, Lin Ming was still advancing aimlessly on the street. Just like this, Lin Ming's consciousness began to become absent-minded. Of course, this didn't mean that Lin Ming's consciousness wasn't strong. On the contrary, it meant that the power pulling Lin Ming was very strong. Although Lin Ming looked like he was in a trance, he still maintained a trace of consciousness. He was deliberately doing this. As a rumbling sound appeared in Lin Ming's head. When Lin Ming opened his eyes again, the Demon King's figure appeared again. Han! Lin Ming said. Lin Ming's figure disappeared on the street. Lin Ming knew that this wasn't a change of scene. It wasn't that he wasn't on the street anymore. It was a power that appeared in his consciousness. Therefore, Lin Ming directly entered the stupa to prevent other dangers from appearing when he was outside. After all, this world was different. Demon King? Lin Ming looked at the face that appeared in his consciousness and was stunned for a moment. Didn't the Demon King completely disappear? Moreover, the last bit of power was used to repair the stupa. Why did it appear again? Lin Ming. The Demon King nodded and spoke to Lin Ming. Didn't you already disappear? Bye. Lin Ming looked at the Demon King and didn't hide any of his thoughts. That's one of my important avatars. It exists in the world you were in before. In this world, there's still one of my avatars. The Demon King explained. Which world is this? Lin Ming asked. Although Lin Ming already knew that he had changed the world he was in, Lin Ming really didn't know what world this was. The underworld that you're talking about. The Demon King directly answered. Underworld? Lin Ming frowned. He didn't expect to come to the world of his mortal enemy, the underworld. Actually, to be honest, the underworld and the world you're in used to be the same world. The Demon King looked at Lin Ming's expression and said, it was only because of that great battle that the world collapsed and all living things turned upside down, so 2 worlds appeared. If it turns into a world, it really is the same world. The Demon King explained. After Lin Ming heard the Demon King's words, he also nodded. Actually, the underworld and the world Lin Ming was in had the same essence. Yes, I understand. Lin Ming could feel it as well. I wonder if you brought me to this world because you need me to solve something? Lin Ming asked. He knew that the Demon King was the one who had brought him to this world. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a Sage Realm expert to teleport between 2 worlds. Otherwise, the 2 worlds would already be at war. have you heard that there is an existence in this world that surpasses the Sage Realm? The Demon King looked at Lin Ming and asked. Yes, I've heard of it. Lin Ming nodded. Do you know why the underworld has been fighting with your world? The Demon King asked again. Is it to revive their great elder? Lin Ming suddenly remembered that the army had taken all the villagers away. What the mage had said was a sacrifice. That's right, through constant battles and constant death, the power of energy and blood and soul power were continuously transmitted to their great elder's body, allowing him to recover. The Demon King nodded. The reason for the great battle was also this. Lin Ming frowned. He didn't expect that so many people would die just for one person's awakening. Moreover, so many innocent villagers and so many innocent warriors. Perhaps these warriors thought that they died for this world before they died. They would never have thought that they had just become someone's tonic, and it was just an insignificant tonic. You asked me to come this time because of this so-called great elder? At this time, Lin Ming almost understood the purpose of the Demon King bringing him to this world. That's right. Actually, you have already stopped the first step of this great elder's resurrection. The Demon King nodded and said, I stopped the first step of his resurrection? Lin Ming didn't even know that he had actually done such a big thing. That's right. Stupa suppressed many experts from the underworld this time. The power of energy and blood that appeared this time can be said to be extremely terrifying. If the power of energy and blood this time wasn't absorbed by you, I'm afraid that with the power of energy and blood that the underworld has accumulated for their great elder, it's almost enough for him to awaken. The Demon King nodded. It could be said that Lin Ming had done a great service. If Lin Ming hadn't absorbed the power of energy and blood, the great elder would have been resurrected. The two worlds would probably be controlled by him. After all, experts at this level were simply undefeatable. Of the two worlds, only this slumbering great elder had such a level. As for the Demon King, he only had a remnant soul. The power he possessed was completely incomparable to the great elders, and the power of the soul is enough for him to have a good meal. The Demon King sighed again. In addition, this world has been offering sacrifices on a regular basis. Furthermore, the number of sacrifices is extremely large, so it's only a matter of time before the great elder awakens. The Demon King spoke. I brought you to this world so that you could stop this great elder from awakening. As long as you can delay the time for him to awaken, until you break through to the Sage Realm and connect to this path, that's fine. According to your talent, even if you've just broken through to that realm, you can resist his power. The Demon King continued to speak, clearly explaining his purpose. I'm afraid there'll be a Sage Realm expert guarding the great elder. Lin Ming was silent for a moment before speaking. Lin Ming was invincible below the Sage Realm, but there definitely was a Sage Realm expert by the great elder's side. I have a backup plan. The Demon King suddenly spoke. The Sage Realm expert of the Elf clan is my descendant. He also understands his mission. The Demon King took out a portrait and a key. Isvam. The Demon King handed the portrait and the key to Lin Ming. May I ask what exactly I'm going to do? Lin Ming nodded and asked. At this moment, he had a backup plan. Lin Ming no longer had any worries. No matter what, Lin Ming's strength was indeed formidable, but against a Sage Realm expert, it was still not easy. Moreover, Lin Ming was really making a move for the world he was in. If this great elder were to awaken, the first one to suffer would probably be the world he was in. If an existence that surpassed the Sage Realm appeared, Lin Ming's world would probably be beaten up, and according to the rules of this world, with such darkness, the humans in Lin Ming's world would probably end up as slaves. After all, to the villagers of his world, they were all directly sacrificed. Go find the Sage Realm elf first. I'll stay in the stupa. When you find the Sage Realm elf, I'll naturally tell you what to do next. The Demon King spoke to Lin Ming. Okay. Lin Ming nodded, and began to size up the Sage Realm elf in the portrait. Sage Realm elf. Lin Ming looked at the portrait, and suddenly remembered the elf he had met in the restaurant. That elf should have some secrets about him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to recognize that he wasn't from this world just by looking at a gold coin. And he wouldn't have let him go. And he even reminded him in the end. Therefore, what Lin Ming wanted to do at this moment was to find this elf and ask this elf to provide him with some clues. In a daze, Lin Ming actually walked a very long distance. Lin Ming walked backwards and returned to the restaurant. Help me call the boss you just mentioned. Lin Ming said to the female elf, who had just hidden his gold coins. I will give you a gold coin as a souvenir. Looking at the female elf who wanted to reject him, Lin Ming said directly. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the female elf nodded and entered a room. Customer, didn't I say not to bother us anymore? I hope you will be grateful after you accept my kindness. After the elf appeared, he spoke directly. His tone and expression showed that he was very impatient. Don't be in a hurry. May I ask if I can enter your room? Lin Ming asked. All right, enter the room and finish what you have to say. After you leave, please don't disturb us again. The elf was silent for a moment before speaking. Alright. Lin Ming nodded. After all, he only had one sentence to ask. What do you want to say? The elf looked at Lin Ming and said, I wonder if you have seen this elf before? Lin Ming placed the portrait in front of the elf. This initially, he thought that Lin Ming wanted some money from him, or to ask some questions about this world. However, he did not expect Lin Ming to directly take out this portrait that he was very familiar with. You know him? Lin Ming looked at the excited elf in front of him and asked, This is our restaurant owner. The elf nodded. Not only did he know him, but he was also very familiar with him. Your restaurant owner? After hearing this answer, Lin Ming was also very surprised. He didn't expect that he just wanted to try his luck here, but a blind cat met a dead mouse. Lin Ming's encounter was really accurate. That's right. Oh, what? Do you think I would have let you go so easily just now? The elf nodded and spoke out his thoughts. Can I see your boss? Lin Ming asked. As long as he could see the Sage Realm elf, then he would have completed the first task. Customer, although I treat you well, please don't daydream here. Our boss is a Sage Realm expert. Not everyone can meet him. The elf said. What a joke. Even he didn't have the chance to meet him. How could a human, who couldn't even afford to eat, want to meet a Sage Realm elf? Believe me, your boss wants to meet me. Lin Ming looked at the elf with this attitude, said. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the elf only sneered. He didn't believe what Lin Ming said at all. If there's nothing else, please leave. The elf once again gave the order to leave. Sigh, if that's the case, then I'll have to offend you. Lin Ming sighed and made his move. After all, this elf wouldn't listen to the soft approach, so he could only use the hard approach. How dare you? The elf looked at Lin Ming, who made his move, and his eyes widened in anger. The elf also made his move quickly, but he didn't have the ability to resist Lin Ming at all. His power undulations had no effect on Lin Ming at all. Lin Ming's palm still landed firmly on his neck. Now, can you say it? Lin Ming snorted coldly and asked. Don't even think about it, the elf said coldly. He did not expect that the ordinary-looking Lin Ming in front of him could actually control him in an instant. Moreover, he did not have any ability to resist at all. Your elf race was originally not from this world, right? Lin Ming looked at the elf and said, It's just your seniors playing chess. It's starting. You're just a small soldier blocking the entire chessboard. If you want to die, I don't want to be dragged down by you. Lin Ming put down the elf and said, You don't have to look at me like that. I came here with my mission. You just need to hand this portrait to your boss. Lin Ming said and handed the portrait to the elf. Alright. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the elf also knew that something was finally going to happen. Even if he fell in love with this peaceful life, he had no choice but to end it early. Wait for me, I'll bring father here now. The elf spoke. Father. Hearing this address, Lin Ming raised his head. He didn't expect this elf to have such a relationship with a Sage Realm elf. No wonder the elf had such a big reaction when he took out the portrait. Please wait a moment. The elf left the room after he finished speaking. He quickly walked in a direction, and the wings on his back suddenly appeared. He was extremely fast, and in a short while, he had arrived at the edge of the city. Father, someone is looking for you. The elf handed the portrait to the Sage Realm elf. The Sage Realm elf held the portrait in his hand, and his heart trembled. After waiting for so long, is it finally coming? The Sage Realm elf spoke with some excitement. Back then, he had come to this world with a mission. At this moment, so many years had passed, and he had already taken root in this world. After so many years, he hadn't forgotten his mission. Finally, he needed to complete his mission. Quick, take me there. The Sage Realm elf picked up the portrait, his voice trembling as he spoke to his son. Okay. The elf nodded, leading the Sage Realm elf toward the restaurant. He knew that his father still missed this other world. He had been influenced by his father, which was why he had let Lin Ming leave, and even helped Lin Ming hide the matters of the other world. However, he had never expected that his father, who had always been indifferent, would become so agitated. He knew that it was fortunate that he had listened to Lin Ming's words and informed his father. Otherwise, his father would probably hold a grudge against him for the rest of his life. Friend, you are? After the Sage Realm elf entered the room, he immediately changed his address to a friend. I was entrusted by the Demon King to complete a task. Lin Ming also stood up and said, It could be seen that the Sage Realm elf had never forgotten his mission. Why is your magic level only at level 7? I'm afraid some things aren't easy to do. But there are benefits too. No one will be suspicious. The Sage Realm elf glanced at Lin Ming and said, I believe that the Demon King must have his reasons for sending you here. As the descendant of the Demon King, the Sage Realm elf worshipped the Demon King to the extreme. Senior, the fire magic is at level 7, and the dark element is at level 9. Lin Ming directly released the power of the dark element. Dual element magic? Seeing the dark aura that Lin Ming released, this Sage Realm elf understood the Demon King's choice. There was absolutely no mistake. Is this the second element that the Great Elder created for you? The Sage Realm Elf looked at Lin Ming and asked. Nah, Lin Ming nodded. It really is unique. The Sage Realm Elf nodded. Hello as. A voice suddenly appeared. Great Elder. When the Sage Realm Elf heard this voice, he immediately knelt on the ground. His face was filled with absolute respect. All these years have been hard on you. Now that this matter is over, you can return to your original world. The Demon King looked at the Sage Realm Elf and said, Great Elder, I've been in this world for so many years. Can I return? The Sage Realm Elf was silent for a moment, then couldn't help but ask. His voice couldn't hide the desolation. After coming to this world, he really hadn't thought about going back. Even if he went back, there would probably be a lot of discussion. You're worrying too much. I've already laid out your escape route for you. The Demon King also felt some heartache for this descendant of his. I couldn't tell that you, as the Demon King, were actually an elf. At this moment, Lin Ming also opened his mouth to speak. What's wrong? I don't look like an elf at all. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the Demon King asked. No, Lin Ming shook his head and answered truthfully. Alright, Peloas, after you leave this world, just follow this young man. Right now, the world on Earth respects him. As long as he confirms you, no one will doubt you. The Demon King spoke to the Sage Realm Elf. But, Great Elder, even if he is a dual-element mage, his magic level is still a little. When the Sage Realm Elf heard this, he still had some doubts. In the future, you will understand. The Demon King didn't explain. You have to stop the slumbering Great Elder in this world. The Demon King directly stated his mission. When the time comes, if you get close to the slumbering Great Elder, you only need to inject this clone of mine into his body. Leave the rest to me. The Demon King spoke. Your mission is to bring this young man to the Great Elder's side. The Demon King continued to speak. Yes, I understand. The Sage Realm Elf could finally calm himself down. At this moment he suddenly thought of something. As he thought of something, his attitude toward Lin Ming changed again. Your name is Lin Ming? After the Demon King's clone disappeared, the Sage Realm Elf asked. And just now, the Demon King had always called Lin Ming a young man. At this moment he directly called out Lin Ming's name. Nath. Lin Ming nodded. Young and promising. Seeing Lin Ming agree, the Sage Realm Elf nodded. Lin Ming's reputation, even in this world, was too great. It seems that in the future I'll have to rely on you, the Sage Realm Elf said. At first, he was a little unconvinced by the Demon King's words, that he would follow Lin Ming in the future. However, at this moment, he said that he would rely on Lin Ming. You're joking. Lin Ming hurriedly waved his hand and said, Follow me. I'll arrange for you to be close to the sleeping Great Elder. The Sage Realm Elf didn't waste any time and said to Lin Ming, Alright. Lin Ming nodded. There was no time to waste on this matter. It was better to finish it quickly. If the Great Elder who surpassed the Sage Realm woke up, it would be the end of the world for Lin Ming. Moreover, if he wanted to stop it, there would be no chance at all. Both of them understood this matter, so they didn't put it off. Later, you stand by my side. Don't make a sound. The Sage Realm Elf also entrusted Lin Ming's figure to him and said, Okay. Lin Ming nodded, indicating that he understood. These Sage Realm experts aren't to be trifled with. They'll definitely see some clues. If there's an emergency, it'll be up to you to resolve it, the Sage Realm Elf said. Lin Ming nodded. No matter what, it wasn't going to be smooth sailing. Let's go. The Sage Realm Elf shot out, and Lin Ming was closely followed by him. The Sage Realm Elf let out a breath. They had finally arrived. Hello, are you here today as well? Tesk, you didn't come here today for some reason, did you? Two voices appeared one after the other. Bria, do I need a reason to show filial piety? The Sage Realm Elf said coldly. You don't have any filial piety. A Sage Realm expert spoke. You talk too much. The Sage Realm Elf didn't give in at all. After all, at this time he couldn't reveal any flaws. This was the crucial point of the matter. One had to know that the Sage Realm Elf had always have such a cold personality. If he changed at this moment, he would probably reveal a flaw for no reason. You brought someone to serve you? A voice filled with mockery. After all, the elves were all exceptionally handsome. Thus he had always mocked the Sage Realm Elves, who were neither male nor female. At this moment Lin Ming had appeared. He would naturally mock him again. Kid, there's a familiar smell on you. A Sage Realm expert came to Lin Ming's side. This was a powerful magical beast that had reached the Sage Realm and had taken human form. Thus, his sense of smell and senses were extremely accurate. Before Lin Ming came here, the Demon King had disguised Lin Ming. At this moment, both Lin Ming's appearance and aura had changed greatly. It was very difficult for these Sage Realm experts to notice Lin Ming's aura. However, this magical beast possessed the Sage Realm strength, coupled with its sense of smell and intuition. It was suspicious of Lin Ming. If the Demon King hadn't disguised Lin Ming would have been torn to shreds. After all, Lin Ming's performance on the battlefield was enough to make them want to chew him up. The overall strength of their world had been cut in half by Lin Ming. As a result, the underworld was unable to gather strength to launch an attack on the above-ground world. Moreover, this is not what they hated most about Lin Ming. They had been attacking the above-ground world all this time, for the power of energy and blood and the power of the soul. But at this moment, all the power of energy and blood had been absorbed by Lin Ming. Their underworld had lost half of its power for nothing. Lin Ming just stood there and didn't say anything. Kid, you want to eat whenever you see someone. It's a familiar taste. I think you're hungry. The Sage Realm Elf said. No, this guy. Why do I feel like something's wrong? The Sage Realm Magical Beast frowned. At this moment, all the Sage Realm experts could tell that the Sage Realm Magical Beast wasn't joking. This was because it was worthy of being a Sage Realm Magical Beast. It wasn't something a level 7 mage could do. You dare to touch my people? As the Sage Realm Magical Beast wanted to attack, the Sage Realm Elf stood in front of him. Tesk, you brat. You're really acting strange today. The Sage Realm Magical Beast said coldly. Alright, stop arguing. Don't disturb the Great Elder. A voice appeared. This little fellow, I don't know why you brought him with you, but you have to know that no one below the Sage Realm has the right to see the Great Elder. This voice continued to appear. He knew that Sage Realm Magical Beasts and Sage Realm Elves had always been at loggerheads. In addition, other than Sage Realm Magical Beasts, no one else could sense anything from Lin Ming. This wasn't the place for them to argue. Alright, the Sage Realm Elf also knew that it wasn't the time to continue arguing. Thus, he turned around and said a few words to Lin Ming, asking him to wait for him outside. After all, he had achieved his goal on that day. He just wanted Lin Ming to show his face first. As long as he showed his face, Lin Ming would be easy to manipulate in the future. And today, all the Sage Realm experts were in this place. If Lin Ming wanted to make a move, it was no different from a fool's dream. At this moment, Lin Ming couldn't even get close to him. The Sage Realm Elf stayed inside for half a day before coming to Lin Ming's side. Let's go, the Sage Realm Elf said. Okay. Lin Ming nodded, not saying much. He knew that the Sage Realm Elf definitely had his own plans. I'll probably have to bring you here a few more times before you have the chance to make a move. The Sage Realm Elf spoke. Senior, I'm afraid that this will arouse their suspicion. Lin Ming asked in confusion. Not at all. You should know that every time I come here, I always bring someone along. After all, I've prepared for so long. I've never forgotten my mission in coming to this world. The Sage Realm Elf said. He had always been doing something. For example, he would always bring someone along with him, and so on. Things that all Sage Realm experts found hard to understand. And these things that were hard to understand finally worked. Lin Ming wasn't suspected at all. Although the Sage Realm Magical Beast's intuition felt that something was wrong, the others didn't find any clues at all. You must have suffered a lot over such a long time. Lin Ming looked at the Sage Realm Elf in front of him, and said with some heartache. The Sage Realm Elf was a person from the earthly world, yet he had come to this place and been accepted by this place. He must have experienced a lot of hardships that others couldn't imagine. After all, I lived for my mission. The Sage Realm Elf shook his head. As long as his mission was completed, these hardships were nothing. After hearing these words, Lin Ming was filled with respect. Such a person was truly worthy of admiration, and in the earthly world, everyone owed him a thank you. After all, he was someone who sacrificed himself for the earthly world. After so many years, I've gotten used to it. The Sage Realm Elf spoke as if he were sighing. Let's go. You've been working hard these past few days. Let's take a good rest today. The Sage Realm Elf brought Lin Ming back to the restaurant. Lin Ming was arranged to stay in the best room for him to rest. Let's go. I'll take you on a trip. The next day, the Sage Realm Elf appeared in Lin Ming's room. Okay. Lin Ming followed behind the Sage Realm Elf. He knew that the Sage Realm Elf must have had his own plans after all this time. Today, we'll go sightseeing, the Sage Realm Elf said, as he led Lin Ming into the air above the city. At this moment, several pairs of eyes were staring fixedly at the Sage Realm Elf. At the end of the day, they still didn't trust the Sage Realm Elf. After all, those who weren't of the same race had different hearts. What the Sage Realm Elf needed to do at this moment was to let them relax. As for letting them dispel their preconceived notions, the Sage Realm Elf wouldn't even think about it. This is the center of the city. Do you know why the spiritual energy and magical elements in this city far exceed those outside of the city? Do you know why it's very difficult for a mage or a master of another profession to appear in a village in this world? The Sage Realm Elf suddenly asked. I don't know. Lin Ming shook his head and answered truthfully. He had also discovered this, but as for the reason, he hadn't had the time to understand until this moment. At this moment, the Sage Realm Elf had asked him, and he believed that he would give him an answer. Please enlighten me, Senior. Lin Ming said, waiting for the Sage Realm Elf's answer. It's because there's an array at the center of the city. It can absorb all the magical elements and spiritual energy outside the city. The closer you get to the center of the city, the denser the spiritual energy and magical elements are. The closer you get to the center of the city, the more power you have. The stronger the people are, the more powerful they are. That's why the current situation is like this. The strong are fewer and the weak are weaker and weaker. In the end, the people outside the city can only be slaughtered. They can only be sacrificed, the sage realm elf said. He looked at this world and couldn't help but sigh. This world was extremely unfair, but there was one point that couldn't be refuted, and that was that strength was the most important. The weak became less and less able to resist, but the strong could control the weak more and more. In the end, even though they were all humans, some couldn't even control their own lives. This world is truly extremely dark. Lin Ming couldn't help but speak. But what can we do? This system is deeply rooted. The sage realm elf sighed again. He couldn't stand the oppression of this world. However, he wasn't able to break this system. Even if he was a sage realm expert, even if he were a sage realm expert, he wouldn't be able to break the rules. This was because this place wasn't like the world on Earth, where there were many empires. In this vast world, there were only 3 cities. These 3 cities were jointly led by several sage realm experts. A sage realm expert wouldn't be able to change anything unless he truly surpassed this tier and possessed the power to control the sage realm. Lin Ming, if you have the chance in the future, destroy this array, the sage realm elf said. After all life outside the city is too pitiful. The sage realm elf was filled with compassion. Outside the city, why didn't even magical beasts appear? It was because all the magical elements, spiritual energy, and other beneficial things were absorbed into the city. Even magical beasts could not be born. Okay, Lin Ming nodded. He remembered the scene of the siblings and all their relatives being taken away. He also remembered the expression on everyone's faces when the entire village was surrounded by the army and their fate could only be sacrifice. It was like turning plants into fertilizer, and they themselves were also plants. This kind of situation might seem intolerable to others, but these innocent villagers were already used to it. What kind of darkness was this? In the center of this city is the clan of a sage realm expert. His clan is the easiest to grow into a high-tier expert. And in his clan, all those below the sage realm don't have to participate in the war. As for those above the sage realm, there are rules, and they don't have to act. The sage realm elf spoke again. It could be said that sage realm experts were like local emperors in this world. No one could bind them. Of course, if a sage realm elf wanted to do so, he could. Although he couldn't change the system, he could integrate it. However, the sage realm elf didn't want to integrate into them at all. As far as he was concerned, as long as he completed his mission, he couldn't wait to leave this world. Senior, look. Next to the sage realm elf, a figure was approaching, and this figure was the sage realm magical beast. No worries. The sage realm elf didn't even bother to look at the sage realm magical beast. Tisk, you're really in the mood. Although the sage realm elf didn't even bother to look at him, the sage realm magical beast didn't think that way at all. After all, he had come here on that day to look for the sage realm elf. I'm in a very good mood right now. I hope you won't create any bad feelings for me. The sage realm elf glanced at the sage realm magical beast and said, Tisk, I wouldn't dare. The sage realm magical beast snorted coldly. It could be seen that he and the sage realm elf had always been at odds. Then please leave. The sage realm elf made a gesture of invitation and said, I can leave, but you have to leave this kid to me to study. The sage realm magical beast pointed at Lin Ming and said to the sage realm elf, You dare to touch my people? The sage realm elf's aura exploded. I can't even touch a level 7 mage. The sage realm magical beast also took large strides forward, his aura exploding as he clashed with the sage realm elf. Seniors, please calm down. Lin Ming spoke in the middle. Do you think you have the right to speak here? The sage realm magical beast snorted. In his eyes, a level 7 mage's life and death were in his hands. As for a level 7 mage, he didn't even deserve to speak to him. Don't even think about touching my people. The sage realm elf spoke. I couldn't tell that a human was so important to you. I can sense that there's something wrong with this guy. However, you've been protecting him everywhere. If you don't give me a clear clue, you're just afraid that you'll be exposed. The sage realm magical beast approached Lin Ming, but it didn't really attack. After all, a battle between sage realm experts wasn't allowed in a city. Otherwise, the regime they had worked so hard to establish would be easily destroyed. A battle between sage realm experts was truly earth-shattering. You're talking to me about your sixth sense here? The sage realm elf spoke again. You don't have to tell me so much. I'll definitely take this person away. The sage realm magical beast snorted coldly and left. In the city, there was no fighting. In this place, he couldn't use his own methods. After all, there was still the Sage Realm Elf protecting Lin Ming. But the Sage Realm Elf would always be absent. It's not up to you to decide whether to take him or not. Sage Realm Elves and Sage Realm Magical Beasts were experts on the same level, standing at the peak of this world. Thus, the two didn't give in. Good. The Sage Realm Magical Beast nodded and disappeared. Senior, Lin Ming spoke from behind the Sage Realm Elf. What's wrong? Don't worry. The Sage Realm Elf spoke. I'm not worried. Lin Ming shook his head. No one below the Sage Realm could touch him. As for those above the Sage Realm, they wouldn't easily deal with a level 7 mage like him. After all, his identity hadn't been revealed at all. Even Sage Realm Magical Beasts could sense that something was wrong through intuition, but there was no clear evidence. However, Lin Ming still felt that something wasn't right. Each of them has their own power, right? Lin Ming asked the Sage Realm Elf. Correct. The Sage Realm Elf nodded. What about you? Lin Ming could tell that this Sage Realm Elf was too lazy to join forces with the Sage Realm experts of this world. However, after reaching the Sage Realm, there should be some followers. Ned, you can ignore me. The Sage Realm Elf smiled and said he wasn't good at managing these things, so his followers all sought refuge with other Sage Realm experts. After all, they came to seek refuge with Sage Realm experts for the sake of protection and a chance to grow. The Sage Realm Elves, who didn't manage these things, gave these defectors an unreliable feeling. I think there will be trouble, Lin Ming said. What trouble? The Sage Realm Elf frowned and asked. In his opinion, he still had the ability to protect Lin Ming. Even if a Sage Realm expert came to take Lin Ming away, he still had the ability to protect Lin Ming. They just need me to act. Once they see my power, they'll know who I am, Lin Ming said. I'll always be by your side. You don't have to act, the Sage Realm Elf said. Lin Ming nodded. He had a way to deal with this. After all, his physical body wasn't something that could be withstood by someone of the same level. However, in this world, he probably couldn't use the stupa or the wheels of wrath. After all, these were the symbols of Lin Ming's identity, especially the stupa, which could kill half of the warriors in this world. I'll bring you to see this array, the Sage Realm Elf said, as he brought Lin Ming to the center of the city. South. Just as the two of them landed on the ground, a person blocked them. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. After seeing the Sage Realm Elf's face clearly, the person immediately knelt on the ground. Even though the Sage Realm Elf was isolated and helpless among the Sage Realm experts, however, a Sage Realm expert was still a Sage Realm expert. His dignity wasn't something that could be challenged by anyone. The Sage Realm Elf waved his hand, telling him to leave. He didn't have the habit of directly taking someone's life. Let's go. The Sage Realm Elf walked in front. The array in the center of the city was guarded by layers of guards. However, the Sage Realm Elf's identity was right there. No one dared to stop him. Look, the Sage Realm Elf pointed at the huge array in front of him and said, "No!" Lin Ming looked at the huge array under his feet and roared as it operated. This array gave Lin Ming a huge sense of shock. This gave Lin Ming a feeling that surpassed the entire world. This was an array that could change this world. This is the array that the so-called Great Elder, who surpassed the Sage Realm, drew. It's the one that's currently in a deep sleep. The Sage Realm Elf said, the system of this world was created by the Great Elder from the very beginning. It's a good thing that he's in a deep sleep. If he hadn't entered a deep sleep, I'm afraid the world would be even darker now. The Sage Realm Elf spoke again. Lin Ming? The Sage Realm Elf turned around and looked at the silent Lin Ming. At this moment, Lin Ming's figure floated into the air. This system has discovered a world-class spirit gathering array. Do you wish to duplicate it? The system's voice sounded in Lin Ming's ears. After duplicating it, host will be able to release a world-class spirit gathering array at any time. The system's voice sounded once more, and this time, the notification gave Lin Ming a huge surprise. He could actually duplicate it and then release the world-class spirit gathering array at any time in the future. Yes, duplicate. Lin Ming immediately confirmed the duplication, and with Lin Ming's confirmation, Lin Ming's figure floated even higher. At this moment, the Sage Realm Elf also realized that something was wrong, and at this moment, Lin Ming also attracted the attention of others. The Sage Realm Elf could only cover for Lin Ming at this moment. He drove directly to Lin Ming's side. After all, in their world, those who hadn't reached the Sage Realm couldn't directly fly by themselves. I brought him to the high ground for a tour. Do you have any objections? The Sage Realm Elf looked coldly at the people below and said. As soon as the Sage Realm Elf's voice sounded, the crowd below quickly moved away. After all, in this world, Sage Realm experts didn't need any reason to kill them. Strength reigned supreme. No, duplication complete. Congratulations, host, for obtaining a world-class spirit gathering array. The system's voice sounded at this moment, and at this moment, Lin Ming had also obtained a world-class spirit gathering array. You the Sage Realm Elf looked at Lin Ming, who had opened his eyes and couldn't help but speak. We'll talk when we get back to the restaurant. Lin Ming spoke. The Sage Realm Elf also knew that it wasn't appropriate to stay in this eye-catching place for too long. After all, these people couldn't see any clues because their level wasn't high enough. On the other hand, they simply couldn't withstand the pressure of the Sage Realm Elf. If the Sage Realm magical beast came at this time, it would probably find some clues about Lin Ming. What happened to you just now? Did you find anything in the spirit gathering array? Back in the restaurant, the Sage Realm Elf asked. That's right, but now isn't the time to talk about it in detail. When we return to the earth, I'll explain everything to you. Lin Ming nodded and said, at this moment, it wasn't the time to talk about this. Okay. The Sage Realm Elf wasn't a naggy person. He nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Tomorrow, we'll play for another day, the Sage Realm Elf said. Okay. Lin Ming didn't need to talk to the Sage Realm Elf anymore. They had begun to have a tacit understanding with each other. Right at this moment, the chances of getting close to the Great Elder were 0, and if he failed, he would have to pay with his life. After the Sage Realm Elf said goodbye in the room, Lin Ming closed his eyes and began to look at the duplicated Spirit Gathering Array. The system duplicated the Spirit Gathering Array and even fixed some of the flaws in this world's Spirit Gathering Array. After all, this world's Spirit Gathering Array had existed for too long. Therefore, some parts of it had become faint. Lin Ming saw the entire Spirit Gathering Array once again, and he still had a very shocking feeling. The Spirit Gathering Array slowly revolved, giving Lin Ming a feeling that even breathing felt smooth. Lin Ming opened his eyes. When he returned to the earthly world, he would definitely study this Spirit Gathering Array properly. However, it was better to make less noise here, otherwise he would only get into trouble. And in this place, even entering the stupa would attract the attention of a Sage Realm expert, especially in this world where Sage Realm experts were absolutely in control. The next day, Lin Ming, the Sage Realm Elf's voice rang out. Lin Ming stood up, and the two of them once more went sightseeing. For 3 whole days, the two of them went sightseeing. Today is the day they changed their guard. Today, it's convenient for us to make a move. After such a long time, the Sage Realm Elf said to Lin Ming. Okay. Lin Ming nodded. Lin Ming had had enough of flying around every day. After all, Lin Ming was used to being alone. At this moment, he attracted too much attention every day. Lin Ming only felt a little irritated. Let's go. The Sage Realm Elf brought Lin Ming and quickly arrived at the Great Elder's position. Now, it's my turn to protect the Great Elder. After the Sage Realm Elf landed, he spoke. It could be said that this opportunity was truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It was his turn, and it was also the time to complete his mission. Lin Ming also relaxed a little. If that were the case, it would be much easier for him to act. Let's go. The Sage Realm Elf walked at the front, and Lin Ming followed closely behind. Their world worships the Great Elder to an extremely high degree, so even if they're not guarding it, they're still here most of the time. That's why they're giving us not much time. At this moment, the Sage Realm Elf gave Lin Ming a shot of precaution. Lin Ming nodded. Even though he was relieved, Lin Ming knew that this matter couldn't possibly be simple. I've said it before. The person you bring with you hasn't reached the Sage Realm, so he doesn't have the right to enter this place. Just as Lin Ming approached, a voice sounded. Why haven't I seen you this enthusiastic before? The Sage Realm Elf said coldly. Lin Ming raised his head and saw the Sage Realm magical beast. Oh, you are afraid of loneliness, right? I'll accompany you for the next few days. The Sage Realm magical beast clapped his hands and said, no need. I'm even more afraid of nausea when I see you. The Sage Realm Elf directly refused. Although this Sage Realm magical beast had always been extremely annoying, it stuck to him this time. Just as the Sage Realm Elf entered the palace, and Lin Ming wanted to enter, the Sage Realm magical beast blocked in front of Lin Ming. I have a disciple. The Sage Realm magical beast spoke, and a human appeared beside him. You can reject this kind of boring challenge. The Sage Realm Elf's figure returned. I also want to see the glory of Senior's disciple. Lin Ming didn't reject the Sage Realm magical beast, because he knew that if he rejected it, this Sage Realm magical beast would be even more unforgiving. Lin Ming made an inviting gesture. Don't say that I'm bullying you. I'm only a level 8 mage. I'm just slightly higher than you. The disciple of the Sage Realm magical beast shamelessly said. One had to know that there was a huge gap between mages, even if it was just one level. The Sage Realm magical beast was only trying to force Lin Ming's power out and find some clues about Lin Ming. Okay. Lin Ming calmly nodded. Just as it started, the opponent's level 8 mage began to attack. Lin Ming took a step forward and didn't use any magic. Is it done? Lin Ming turned his head and asked. In Lin Ming's hand was the mage's heart. Aren't you a level 7 mage? The Sage Realm magical beast was extremely shocked. Lin Ming had actually plucked a level 8 mage heart in that instant, even a close combat job of the same level. As a mage did not have such an ability. What made him even more surprised was that on the surface, Lin Ming was only a level 7 mage. Lin Ming definitely had a bigger secret. However, the strength of his body wasn't enough to confirm Lin Ming's identity, and at this moment, Lin Ming had only attacked once, so he couldn't find any clues. Let's go! The Sage Realm Elf was also extremely shocked, but he still managed to calm himself down. Yeah, Lin Ming followed behind the Sage Realm Elf. Whether you defeat my disciple or not, you don't have the right to enter. The Sage Realm magical beast still refused to let go. Okay, I'll wait outside. At this moment, Lin Ming didn't want to pester him. Senior, I'll wait for you outside. Lin Ming spoke from this side. The Sage Realm Elf also knew that Lin Ming wouldn't be able to enter on that day. In other words, as long as the Sage Realm magical beast was here, Lin Ming wouldn't be able to enter at all. You and the person on the battlefield give me a feeling that you're too similar. Although I don't know how you transmigrated to our world, I also know that your identity is definitely not simple. The Sage Realm magical beast looked at Lin Ming and said coldly, Senior, you must be joking. You've always been under the protection of a senior elf. Up until now, I haven't entered the battlefield yet. Lin Ming said respectfully, since it was everyone from other Sage Realm families, they didn't have to enter the battlefield. Lin Ming knew that Sage Realm elves also had the right to do so. Thus, there was no loophole in his words. Is fine. Your rabbit's tail will be exposed sooner or later, the Sage Realm magical beast said. It sat next to Lin Ming and wasn't prepared to leave. Lin Ming waited for a day and a night. The Sage Realm magical beast sat next to Lin Ming for a day and a night. The Sage Realm elf guarding the Great Elder inside wasn't allowed to leave during this period of time. Thus, only Lin Ming and the Sage Realm magical beasts were left to confront each other. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? The Sage Realm magical beast looked at Lin Ming, who was expressionless, and asked. In this world, Sage Realm experts had the power to kill anyone below the Sage Realm. Although Lin Ming's power was indeed monstrous just now, he didn't need a reason to kill Lin Ming. I believe that Senior will take my life for no reason. Lin Ming spoke respectfully once more. Tusk, you brat, you sure have guts. The Sage Realm magical beast sized up Lin Ming and said, one of the reasons why Lin Ming was fearless was because of his high-tier defensive spiritual treasure. Even the Sage Realm expert wasn't able to take his life in an instant. On the other hand, the Sage Realm elf must have placed all his attention on him. As long as the Sage Realm magical beast attacked, the Sage Realm elf would definitely arrive in an instant. Let's go! The Sage Realm magical beast stood up, dusted off the dust on its body, and turned to leave. Farewell, Senior. Lin Ming spoke from behind. Don't be happy too soon. The Sage Realm magical beast turned around and said coldly, Yes, Senior. Lin Ming lowered his head, neither servile nor overbearing. Just stuck. The Sage Realm magical beast clicked its tongue and disappeared. Lin Ming stood there, not moving at all. It's getting dark. Lin Ming raised his head and looked at the world where the sun had already set. I beg you, don't. At this moment, Lin Ming suddenly heard many pleas. An army was approaching the palace. Lin Ming looked at these pitiful people. They were powerless, but they were facing a Sage Realm expert. They were suppressed by the army of this world. They begged bitterly, but in exchange, they were only beaten. They could not resist at all. They could only passively accept their fate. Lin Ming looked at them, and indelible anger appeared in his heart. Stop! Lin Ming stood in front of them and said coldly, although it was said that if one couldn't bear it, they would mess up the big plan. Lin Ming was constantly calculating his big plan. Who are you? You actually dare to command us here? The commander looked at Lin Ming and said coldly. No one below the Sage Realm was in his eyes. After all, they were the Sage Realm experts, who represented the entire world. Didn't you say that no one below the Sage Realm is allowed to enter this palace? Lin Ming asked. Who do you think you are? How dare you talk nonsense here? The commander frowned. It had been so long since he had seen such a suicidal person. If you say any more nonsense, I'll take your life. At this moment, the leader's patience had run out. If he weren't afraid of the power behind Lin Ming, he would have attacked long ago. This isn't what I said. This is what the Sage Realm Elder said. Lin Ming stood where he was and didn't move. Sage Realm Elder? Who are you? Hearing this, the leader of the army didn't dare to act rashly. Elder, don't you agree? Lin Ming shouted. Kid, shut up. Don't disturb the Great Elder. A figure appeared beside Lin Ming. This person was a Sage Realm magical beast. Lin Ming knew that this guy hadn't left. Anyone could see through such thoughts. And with the appearance of the Sage Realm magical beast, everyone in the army fell to their knees. Senior, you just said that no one below the Sage Realm is allowed to enter the Great Elder's palace. Lin Ming looked at the Sage Realm magical beast and said, Kid, if it weren't for the fact that you have someone backing you up. I would have killed you long ago. Now, you still dare to say so much? The Sage Realm magical beast stared at Lin Ming and spoke coldly. Lin Ming just stood there, not making a single sound. Please, save us. At this moment, these innocent villagers spoke again. Shut up! The leader of the army snorted. A level 7 mage wanted to save them? Wasn't this pure dreaming? Right at this moment, Lin Ming hadn't been slapped to death, because he had someone backing him up. You want to be a hero? The Sage Realm magical beast looked at Lin Ming, and couldn't help but laugh. I don't want to be a hero. Lin Ming hurriedly waved his hand. Then get lost. The Sage Realm magical beast looked at Lin Ming, who was blocking the door, and spoke again. This time, his words were full of warning. If Lin Ming didn't get out of the way, he wouldn't care about the Sage Realm elf anymore, and would directly slap Lin Ming to death. I was thinking that since this is my first time here, I should show my filial piety to the Great Elder. I will lead them and offer sacrifices to the Great Elder. Lin Ming rubbed his hands and said, Are you worthy? Hearing Lin Ming's words, the Sage Realm magical beast mocked. Don't you think that I'm stronger than they? This is something that I've always dreamed of. Please help me, senior. Lin Ming lowered his head and spoke. Could it be that you feel that I will harm the Great Elder? Lin Ming raised his head and looked at the Sage Realm magical beasts. Today, you really made me happy. You really have a way with jokes. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the Sage Realm magical beast laughed loudly, not to mention Lin Ming, who was now a level 7 mage. Even if he was a Sage Realm mage, he would not be able to cause any harm to the Great Elder. Although the Great Elder was in a deep sleep, anyone above the Sage Realm would be God tier. God tier would still be God tier, even if they were in a deep sleep. Go. After laughing loudly, the Sage Realm magical beast pointed at the palace, and allowed Lin Ming to enter. Thank you, senior. Lin Ming cupped his hands. He had achieved his goal. The Sage Realm magical beast had always been in this place, like a fly, preventing Lin Ming from entering. At this moment, this fly had left on its own. It really made Lin Ming feel happy. Lead the way! Lin Ming stood behind the leader of the army and said coldly. As Lin Ming spoke, his aura fell on the leader. As for the leader, he felt an aura of death, causing him to shiver. He didn't dare to turn around, nor did he dare to say anything else. He led Lin Ming into the palace. Singer! After Lin Ming entered, he bowed to the Sage Realm elf. The Sage Realm elf nodded. Although he was in the room, he knew everything that was going on outside. Senior, can I take a look at the Great Elder's heroic bearing? Lin Ming lowered his head and asked the Sage Realm elf. Okay. The Sage Realm elf and Lin Ming were just covering for him. Lin Ming got close to the Great Elder, and the Demon King's avatar started to move. At this moment, the Great Elder also felt a great danger. The sleeping Great Elder released his aura. Lin Ming only felt dizzy, but fortunately, this aura was counteracted by the Demon King's avatar. Put your hand under his nose. The Demon King's voice appeared. Lin Ming couldn't care less at this moment. He directly put his arm under the Great Elder's nose. In an instant, he fainted. Lin Ming. The moment before Lin Ming closed his eyes, he heard the Sage Realm elves shout. In less than a breath's time, Lin Ming woke up again. Are you okay? The Sage Realm elf looked at Lin Ming with concern. I'm fine. It's fine. Lin Ming nodded. The Sage Realm elf was most concerned about the matter of sealing the Great Elder. After Lin Ming spoke, the Sage Realm elf let out a sigh of relief. This was his mission in this world for so long. At this moment he had finally completed it. This made him feel incredulous. He also felt a sense of loss. He looked at the Great Elder lying in the sea of blood, without any changes, and thought that he was dreaming. Senior, the seal will be activated in 15 days. Please hurry. Lin Ming transmitted his words through his consciousness. The Demon King's avatar had already attached itself to the underworld's Great Elder. Although the Great Elder was powerful, he was still in a deep sleep. The instinct in a deep sleep posed no threat to the Demon King's avatar. After all, the two of them were on the same realm. One was awake, and the other was instinctive. Although the avatar and the main body were sealed to prevent him from waking up, there was no problem. The Sage Realm elf nodded. Still not offering? At this moment, the Sage Realm magical beast's voice appeared in the room. Although he firmly believed that Lin Ming wouldn't do anything threatening to the Great Elder, he didn't like Lin Ming dragging things out here. The Great Elder was still in a deep sleep, and the Demon King was only attached to it. A divine level technique wasn't something he could see clearly. Thus, at this moment, he didn't notice anything strange about the Great Elder. Sacrifice. The Sage Realm magical beast said coldly. All the soldiers quickly entered the sacrificial state. Lin Ming glanced at these innocent villagers and turned his head. Today is a special day. There shouldn't be any blood. Do you think this can replace their lives? In the stupa, Lin Ming gave a bit of his power of energy and blood to the Sage Realm magical beast. How can you have such pure power of energy and blood? As Lin Ming took out his power of energy and blood, the Sage Realm magical beast became curious. Senior, may I take them away? Don't let them dirty our palace. Lin Ming asked again. Let me ask you, how do you have such pure power of energy and blood? The Sage Realm magical beast said coldly once more. The power of energy and blood that Lin Ming had given him had been refined by the wheels of wrath and filtered by the system to reach such purity. Even Sage Realm experts like them couldn't obtain such pure power of energy and blood. Otherwise, they would have used the power of energy and blood to cultivate. It was precisely because they were unable to obtain such pure power of energy and blood that they gave up on the cultivation method of power of energy and blood, for fear of suffering a backlash. This was especially true for Sage Realm magical beasts, who were bloodthirsty. Because I like fresh blood, from the very beginning of my cultivation, I began to refine the power of energy and blood, Lin Ming replied. But this isn't something you can refine. This reason didn't convince the Sage Realm magical beast, so convinced. It's just the method, Lin Ming answered. Can you tell me? The Sage Realm magical beast pressed again. As long as you hand these villagers over to me, of course. I'm willing to tell Senior. Lin Ming lowered his head and said, "Well, today your power of energy and blood is completely worth the lives of these villagers. I'll let you take them away. Naturally, there won't be any problems." Hearing Lin Ming's words, the Sage Realm magical beast nodded. Senior, Lin Ming walked forward and told the Sage Realm magical beast the general direction of the Wheels of Wrath's power of energy and blood refinement. However, this power of energy and blood, which had only been refined and hadn't been purified by the system, would eventually backfire. However, it looked extremely pure. Hearing the way Lin Ming told it, the Sage Realm magical beast became excited, but he didn't know that he had fallen into Lin Ming's trap. In the future, this was the important point that Lin Ming controlled him. Let's go. Lin Ming took these villagers out of the palace. He didn't expect that the Sage Realm magical beast, which had always gone back on its word, would stop him at this time. Lin Ming didn't expect that this daring Sage Realm magical beast would actually set its eyes on the Great Elder. One had to know that the Great Elder had a lot of power of energy and blood at this moment, and at this moment he was at the peak of the Sage Realm. If he followed Lin Ming's method and extracted the power of energy and blood from the Great Elder's body, he might really be able to break through to the Sage Realm. No matter what, he only wanted to go off the beaten path. After Lin Ming took the villagers away, he placed them in the Sage Realm Elf's restaurant as service staff. No matter what, they were guaranteed their lives. No matter who they were, no matter how much they wanted to die, they wouldn't go to the restaurant. A Sage Realm expert to court death. After 7 whole days, the Saint-level elf finally returned. Senior, half of the time has passed. We have to leave before the Great Elder seals it. Lin Ming looked at the Sage Realm elf who had returned and said, "Oh no." The Sage Realm elf nodded. Now, the underworld has suffered heavy losses because of your actions, so it has entered a truce period. If we were to continue fighting, it would be easy to get out. But now, we need some method. The Sage Realm elf glanced at Lin Ming and said, one had to know that Lin Ming's attack had directly weakened the underworld by half. The underworld had no choice but to enter a truce. At this moment, Lin Ming was worried that something unexpected would happen when the Great Elder was sealed. Thus, he had to leave before the Great Elder was sealed. After all, many Sage Realm experts were protecting the Great Elder. Won't it be fine if we start another war? Lin Ming said. We'll need a few Sage Realm experts to agree before we can start another war, the Sage Realm elf said. That's easy. Just send a few warmongers to the battlefield and attack directly, Lin Ming said. Alright. Hearing Lin Ming's method, the Sage Realm elf nodded. This was forcing the underworld to start another war. After all, once it started, it would be difficult to stop. Let me do it, Lin Ming said. Go! The Saint-level elf asked. When Lin Ming reached the surface, he immediately returned to his own world. Senior, think about how you will leave this world. As long as you reach my world, I guarantee that no one will be unfaithful to you. Lin Ming said to the Sage Realm elf. I can leave, but my family. The Sage Realm elf's eyes were filled with complicated emotions. No matter what, he couldn't give up on his descendants. Senior, there's no harm in this problem. Please take a look. Lin Ming smiled. This problem was the easiest to solve. The stupa in Lin Ming's hands didn't have anything else, but it had a lot of space. Even the smallest space on the first level was enough for many clans to enter. Lin Ming brought the Sage Realm elf directly into the stupa. Seeing the stupa's interior, the Sage Realm elf laughed loudly. He didn't even have a spiritual treasure that could hold a living person or such a large space. However, this was a divine artifact. The two worlds added up to 4 pieces. At this moment, no one had passed the test of the divine artifact. Only a monster like Lin Ming could resolve the test of the divine artifact and become its owner, one had to know that an interspatial ring, or other interspatial spiritual weapons, no matter how big the space was, no matter how high tier a spiritual treasure was, could not carry a living being. As for the two divine artifacts that Lin Ming had, even the strongest attack, the Wheels of Wrath, could not save many people with their lives. After all, a divine artifact was a divine artifact, and it was completely different from a spiritual weapon. Even the most inferior divine artifact, compared to the highest tier spiritual treasure, was like the difference between heaven and earth. The sage realm elf looked at the environment that had already been formed and asked. That, Lin Ming nodded. In any case, he wasn't worried that the sage realm elf would do anything to him. After all, in this stupa he was the biggest. Moreover, he also believed in the sage realm elf. For a person to be able to lurk in this world for so many years for a mission, he must have a lot of willpower. Tesk kid, you really are enviable. The sage realm elf looked at Lin Ming and couldn't help but say. One had to know that what Lin Ming had wasn't just the stupa, he also had the divine artifact of the underworld, the Wheels of Wrath. These were two divine artifacts. Even hundreds of thousands of years ago, no one had been able to have two divine artifacts. That was when even god-tier experts were rampant. But at this moment, Lin Ming was able to have two divine artifacts, let alone a sage realm expert like him. Even a god-tier expert from 100,000 years ago was extremely envious. I'm just a little lucky. Lin Ming chuckled. Come, follow me. The sage realm elf didn't say anything else. He brought Lin Ming to his clan. Everyone, gather at the ancestral hall. The sage realm elf's voice rang out in everyone's ears. As the master of the clan, the sage realm elf's words were naturally very useful. Not long after, the group of people in the ancestral hall had gathered. How do we let them enter the stupa? The safe realm elf asked Lin Ming. The few elves that Lin Ming approached directly entered the stupa. Not long after, all the elves in the ancestral hall entered the stupa. Where is this place? As they entered the stupa, the elves asked curiously. You can stay here, I'll take you away in a few days. The sage realm elf also appeared in the stupa. Remember, you have to be safe here. Don't touch any of the plants here, otherwise, I'll personally judge you. The sage realm elf spoke from within. One had to know that the stupa's secret realm had its own ecosystem. The sage realm elf was worried that Lin Ming's secret realm would be destroyed. Thus, he said these words at this moment. All the sage realm elves knelt on the ground. Let's go to the restaurant, then we will leave this world. The sage realm elf said. Okay. Lin Ming nodded and followed the sage realm elf to the restaurant. After all, the sage realm elf's only son was in this restaurant. The sage realm elf would never give up on his only son, Great Elder. As soon as the sage realm elf entered the restaurant, several elves fell to the ground. What's wrong? Are you panicking? The sage realm elf saw the elves kneeling on the ground and had a bad feeling. The Great Elder was taken away by an unknown person. Seeing the sage realm elf, they finally found their backbone. But why didn't you tell me earlier? Hearing this news, the sage realm elf trembled. The Great Elder was just taken away. We were just about to report to you, and you came. An elf sobbed. What are their characteristics? The sage realm elf frowned and asked. His son was also a level 10 expert. Although he had only gone a few rounds in Lin Ming's hands, he was still a true expert. It was very difficult to meet an opponent below the sage realm, unless the opponent had a large number of people, or if the opponent's level was higher than his son's. Otherwise, it was impossible to forcefully take him away when there were no traces of fighting on the battlefield. It's just a black-robed man. The moment he attacked, he subdued the Great Elder. Before we could get close, this person disappeared, an elf said. Sage realm? Upon hearing this, the sage realm elf frowned, extremely furious. There was actually a sage realm expert who attacked his son. Could it be that his matter had been exposed? Who is it? A sage realm expert. Attacking someone from another sage realm family was taboo. Furthermore, this was the only son of a sage realm expert. Show yourself. The sage realm elf said coldly as the scene appeared. However, the moment the scene appeared, it exploded. It could be seen that the other party was prepared. HMPH, a sage realm magical beast. Although the sage realm elf only allowed the scene to appear for a moment, he knew who had taken his son away, and it was the sage realm magical beast, that bastard. Wait for me, I'll be right back. The sage realm elf's figure disappeared. He really is a fly. Lin Ming couldn't help but speak. Sage realm magical beasts were disgusting existences, but they were sage realm experts, which made people's teeth itch. But there was no way to directly kill them. He won't kill the Great Elder, and elf couldn't help but speak. He won't. Lin Ming spoke. It is sage realm magical beast dared to attack the only son of another sage realm expert. Then perhaps all of the members of the sage realm magical beast clan would be exterminated, and no other sage realm expert would be able to stop it. After an entire night, the Sage Realm Elf returned with red eyes. In his hand was the Elf Prince. Lin Ming had waited for an entire night. When he saw that they had returned, he hurriedly asked, "It's fine," the Sage Realm Elf said. Although he said this, Lin Ming could see what the Sage Realm Elf had experienced. "Prepare to leave," the Sage Realm Elf said. At this moment, everyone in the restaurant had entered the stupa. "Where are we going? The entire elf race has disappeared." Suddenly, a voice sounded. The asterisk starred, "I'm going to beat you out of your original form." Seeing the Sage Realm magical beast appear again, the Sage Realm Elf immediately went berserk. "Senior, the smell of blood on your body is really heavy." Lin Ming looked at the Sage Realm magical beast and said coldly. It could be seen that the Sage Realm magical beast had killed quite a few people after obtaining the method. "Thank you very much," the Sage Realm magical beast said. The Sage Realm magical beast had already entered a bloodthirsty state. This was because Lin Ming and his blood essence extraction method had a huge drawback. In addition, the Sage Realm magical beast had always been extremely daring. He had actually set his sights on the Great Elder. The power of the Great Elder's power of energy and blood could be said to be extremely varied. After all, the Great Elder was a god-tier expert. In addition to that era, he had more or less cultivated the power of energy and blood. Thus, there was no problem with the Great Elder himself. However, this Sage Realm magical beast was different. Although he possessed the highest level of power in the world, he was still too far away from the god tier. In addition, the way Lin Ming had given him the power of energy and blood cultivation was simply wrong. Thus, it was very normal for him to enter a state of energy deviation. Under normal circumstances, he really wouldn't be able to forcefully take away the son of another Sage Realm expert. "Senior, you must take care of your body." Lin Ming spoke again, his voice full of mockery. The Sage Realm magical beast, who had become impetuous due to the power of energy and blood, heard Lin Ming's mocking tone, and its eyes twitched. He really couldn't help but take Lin Ming's life. "Do I need to report to you where I'm going?" At this moment, the Sage Realm Elf said. "I was just curious, so I came to take a look." The Sage Realm magical beast said, "After all, your heart has never belonged to this world." The Sage Realm magical beast stared at the Sage Realm Elf. "Well, chef?" The Sage Realm Elf was furious. "You want to fight?" The Sage Realm Elf said coldly. "Oh!" The Sage Realm magical beast didn't want to be outdone, and chose a place to fight. "Stop!" Suddenly, a voice interrupted their argument. "Okay, actually, I also want to know why all the elves disappeared from this world." The Sage Realm Mage who had appeared was standing in front of the two of them. "I've only opened the secret realm of the elves trial. There's no need for me to report the secrets of each clan to you, right? After all, your clan will occasionally do things that we don't know about." The Sage Realm Elf spoke. After hearing the Sage Realm Elf's words, the Sage Realm Mage hesitated for a moment, because what the Sage Realm Elf had said was no problem. After all, every clan wanted to have another Sage Realm expert in their clan. Thus, they would hold some secret trials regularly, even the restaurants. The Sage Realm magical beast spoke again. "Senior, are you thirsty for the power of energy and blood? Did you come here to look for the elves?" Lin Ming also opened his mouth. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the Sage Realm Mage turned his gaze to the Sage Realm magical beast. The power of energy and blood on the Sage Realm magical beast made him frown. This Sage Realm magical beast had always been crazy. In fact, he didn't really like him. It was just that he had some doubts in his heart, which was why he came here. "Forget it, since you've already said so. I can't continue to ask. Goodbye." The Sage Realm Mage cut his fists and said, disappearing from the spot. After the Sage Realm Mage left, the Sage Realm Elf's gaze landed on the Sage Realm magical beast. Get lost. All of the Sage Realm Elf's good temper had been used up. "Bam!" the Sage Realm Mage said coldly, and a crack appeared behind the Sage Realm magical beast. "Let's go." The Sage Realm Elf grabbed the Lin Ming and disappeared from the spot. When the two of them reappeared, they had already arrived at the passage between the two worlds. The Sage Realm Elf brought Lin Ming directly into the passage. At this moment, all of the Sage Realm experts in the underworld had no time to react. Even the Sage Realm magical beast had just neutralized the Sage Realm Elf's attack. "Senior, there are cracks in the passageway. You must be careful." Although these cracks were very tiny, if they were to touch a spatial crack, even a Sage Realm expert would be injured. The Sage Realm Elf nodded. At this moment, he was actually trembling. Of course, this wasn't because his body was injured, but because he was extremely excited. In addition, his palms were already sweating nervously. Something that could cause a Sage Realm expert to be so emotional was to go home. Returning to his own world caused his emotions to surge. "Are we finally going home?" the Sage Realm Elf asked in a trembling voice. "Yes, we're home." Lin Ming, who was beside the Sage Realm elf, nodded. At this moment, the underworld was in chaos. I already said that there's something wrong with him. You guys just don't believe me. The Sage Realm magical beast's voice was heartbreaking in the palace. Calm down. The Sage Realm in the middle said, the Great Elder is about to wake up. We just need to wait for him to wake up. The two of them will die without a burial ground. The person spoke coldly. Thus, as soon as the Sage Realm expert finished speaking, a series of rumbling sounds could be heard. Everyone quickly rose to their feet. This was because the source of the rumbling sound was where the Great Elder was located. What happened? The person in the middle spoke impatiently. I don't know. It was all of a sudden. The person serving the Great Elder was also stunned, not knowing what was going on. The Sage Realm expert pushed the person serving the Great Elder away and approached the Great Elder. Who did this to the Great Elder? No matter what, he was still a Sage Realm expert. He could tell that the Great Elder was on the verge of awakening. But at this moment, the Great Elder had once again entered a deep sleep, and on the Great Elder's body, another power had appeared. This power had bound the Great Elder. I suddenly remembered why that young man feels so familiar to me. He is Lin Ming. The Sage Realm magical beast suddenly spoke. Lin Ming. As he spoke, everyone was stunned. That's impossible. A Sage Realm expert spoke. There are so many of us here. If it were Lin Ming, why didn't anyone notice anything amiss? The Sage Realm expert spoke. I noticed something amiss, but do you guys believe me? The saint-level magical beast gritted his teeth and spoke. However, how did he cross the passageway and enter our world? The Sage Realm expert in the center also had some questions. Great Elder, it might be Lin Ming's doing to enter the deep sleep again. The Sage Realm magical beast said. The Elf King ran into another world. It should be him, right? Another Sage Realm expert said. This power isn't something a Sage Realm expert can compare to. If the Elf King had such power, he would have attacked long ago. Sage Realm magical beasts were in the most logical position. In addition to his suspicions back then, no one believed him. At this moment, the matter of the Sage Realm elf had been exposed, and he had a hysterical feeling. Lin Ming must have obtained the help of a god-tier expert from their world. That's why he was able to come to our world without going through the passageway. After all, it was a god-tier expert who sealed our Great Elder and put him into a deep sleep. The Sage Realm expert in the center spoke up. Lin Ming again. A Sage Realm expert couldn't help but speak up. Lin Ming had killed half of the experts below the Sage Realm in their world, and at this moment, he had sealed the Great Elder who was about to awaken. As a god-tier Great Elder, if he could awaken, he would be able to sweep through two worlds, and with the power of a god tier, he could open a path between two worlds. The power of a god tier was unfathomable. Isn't there any god tier expert in their world? Only our underworld has a sleeping Great Elder. A Sage Realm expert asked, doubtfully. Previously, it was said that all the divine artifacts were damaged. That's why they haven't appeared for so long. Now, Lin Ming has 2 divine artifacts on him. And he's only a level 7 mage. Another Sage Realm expert frowned and said, he was extremely envious of such an opportunity. But if there's a god-tier expert in their world, they shouldn't. The Sage Realm expert who had just spoken hesitated. He should be in the same situation as our Great Elder. He only has a bit of consciousness. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken the risk of having Lin Ming come to our world to stop our Great Elder from waking up. The Sage Realm expert in the center had thought of the crux of the problem. Now, what should we do? Looking at the slumbering god-tier Great Elder, they actually felt a sense of panic. One had to know how much effort they had put in to wake the Great Elder up. At this moment, because of Lin Ming's appearance, they had directly sealed the Great Elder. What's there to panic about? Even if the Great Elder enters his slumber again, aren't we still there? The people of their earthly world will eventually have to suppress us. The Sage Realm expert in the center said. His heart was about to explode. He had spent the most time and effort on this. I told you that those who aren't of my race will have different hearts. You just won't listen. At this moment, the Sage Realm magical beast spoke again. Follow me. The Sage Realm expert in the center said. A few of them walked up to the tunnel. What are you doing? A Sage Realm expert couldn't help but ask. Since the Great Elder has fallen into a deep sleep, we might as well go crazy and let the storm come more fiercely. The Sage Realm expert at the center spoke coldly. Are you declaring war on the earth? The Sage Realm expert from earlier asked. Although their 2 worlds had always been in battle, it was a battle between those below the Sage Realm. At this moment, the Sage Realm expert in the center was obviously participating in the battle. First, force them to hand over Lin Ming. If they are willing to hand him over, we'll return to our underworld. If they don't hand over Lin Ming, we'll attack them all. The Sage Realm expert in the center said. At this moment he had completely entered a state of madness. At this moment, in the underworld, Lin Ming, why did you come out of the underworld? Lan Ming's aura disappeared from the giant city. All the Sage Realm experts had been searching for Lan Ming for such a long time, but no matter which empire or place, Lan Ming was nowhere to be found. When they searched the place where Lan Ming had disappeared, they discovered that what remained was actually the aura of dark magic. Although they knew that one of Lan Ming's two elements was dark magic, Lan Ming couldn't disappear into thin air in this world. Level 9 dark magic couldn't create any teleportation at all. In addition, most of the people in the underworld were dark mages. The Sage Realm experts of the entire underworld wish they could eat Lan Ming's flesh and drink his blood. Thus, they guessed that Lan Ming had been taken away by the Sage Realm experts of the underworld. These days, they were all extremely worried. At this moment, Lan Ming had suddenly appeared at the connection between the underworld and this world. They all surrounded him. Everyone below the Sage Realm thought that something big had happened, but they didn't dare to go near him. We'll talk about it when we get back. Lan Ming walked in front, heading toward the palace. Who is this? As they arrived at the palace, Gandalf looked at the Sage Realm elf and asked. Behind Lan Ming was a Sage Realm expert. Master, we've done a great deed these days. Lan Ming chuckled. At this moment, he was here. He could finally relax. Great deed? What kind of great deed? After hearing Lan Ming's words, Gandalf's interest was piqued. In the underworld, there's a great elder who's at the Sage Realm and above. He's about to awaken through the power of energy and blood, and the devouring of his soul. Lan Ming began to explain the beginning of this matter. An expert above the Sage Realm, he's about to awaken. Hearing Lan Ming's words, they all became nervous. That's right, the one who entered the underworld this time was Senior Demon King. Lan Ming nodded and explained everything that had happened in the underworld. This is the hero of our world. Lan Ming looked at the Sage Realm elf. Place? Gandalf nodded and pointed at the center seat. The Sage Realm elf had thought that, since he had just arrived in this world, no matter what, he would be ostracized. At this moment, not only was there no ostracism, but the center seat, which represented the most authority, was also given to him. He knew that part of this was because of Lan Ming's authority. On the other hand, everyone in this world was filled with optimism. It was completely different from the underworld. After all, if he were in the underworld, everyone would definitely suspect him. Their world was dark, and the hearts of the people were even darker. Senior, please sit. Lan Ming made an inviting gesture and said, Please. The other Sage Realm experts also said. The Sage Realm elf took a deep breath and sat on the seat. Of course, they were all magnanimous people. They would never argue over something narrow. Lan Ming. Suddenly, a terrifying aura suppressed the giant city. Hand over Lan Ming. A loud voice swept through the giant city. A Sage Realm expert from the underworld. Upon hearing this voice, Gandalf was the first to stand up. Although the Sage Realm experts of their two worlds wouldn't participate in the battle, they knew each other very well, because they could be considered mortal enemies. Lan Ming, they've come for us. The Sage Realm experts of the underworld looked at each other and smiled. The arrival of the Sage Realm experts of the underworld didn't give them any pressure at all. Instead, it gave them a sense of excitement. The underworld had always been powerful. It was like a powerful and unreasonable scoundrel. At this moment, they had finally made him throw a tantrum. No matter who it was, they all felt extremely comfortable. Let's go. Gandalf was at the very front, and the other Sage Realm experts followed behind him. Lan Ming soared into the air as well. Are you rats willing to reveal yourself now? Gandalf was the first to speak. Lan Ming. The Sage Realm magical beast looked at Lan Ming, gritting his teeth as he spoke. Yes, I'm here. Lan Ming nodded. Although his tone was calm, it was filled with mockery. Hearing Lan Ming's words, the Sage Realm magical beast wanted nothing more than to kill Lan Ming. But with so many Sage Realm experts here, no matter how stupid he was, he couldn't possibly make a move at this moment. Hand over Lan Ming. The Sage Realm expert at the very center said coldly. Aren't you annoying? You said this sentence so many times. I'm getting tired of hearing it. Gandalf sneered and mocked. Gandalf and Lan Ming were really driving people crazy. Hand over Lan Ming, or else. The person in the middle was also extremely angry. Or else what? Diet, I think you should go home and make up for it. A Sage Realm expert next to Lan Ming said directly. It could be seen that the Sage Realm experts on the ground didn't respect the Sage Realm experts of the underworld. Tesk, Elf King, you really are a good person. Two worlds, two sides. At this moment, the Sage Realm magical beast once again pointed its spear at the Sage Realm elf. So much nonsense, Lan Ming said at the back and said. Just one question. Are we going to fight? Gandalf stood in the air with his hands. You guys, good. The Sage Realm expert in the center was so angry that he was laughing. The two worlds are at war. The voice of the Sage Realm expert in the center resounded through the two worlds. The two worlds, the Earth world and the Underworld, were at war. All the previous agreements had no effect at all. No, no, no. Listen to me. Suddenly, Lin Ming's voice appeared. Who do you think you are? Hearing Lin Ming's words, the Sage Realm magical beast, who hated Lin Ming to the bone, spoke. In our world, we old fellows are willing to serve Lin Ming. A Sage Realm expert spoke from behind Lin Ming. It was at this moment that Lin Ming's words took over the entire world. Oh! Seeing that no one objected to the Sage Realm magical beast, his expression finally changed. He finally understood Lin Ming's status in the world on Earth. No one could shake him, and the words he had just said had become a slap on his face at this moment. Who was Lin Ming? Lin Ming was the voice of this world. What do you want to say? After knowing Lin Ming's status, the Sage Realm expert in the center narrowed his eyes and said, "You can fight, but you, Sage Realm seniors, don't have to fight." Lin Ming said from the center, "After all, your goal in the previous battle has already been accomplished. If you participate in the battle again, the above-ground world will still be the same as before. But I'm afraid that your above-ground world will face great changes. After all, the number of Sage Realm experts on both sides is about the same, and the number of Sage Realm experts below yours is about half. Test type. It can be said that it's half of our world," Lin Ming said with a smile. Hearing Lin Ming's words, the Sage Realm experts of the underworld gnashed their teeth in anger. This was because half of their strength had been suppressed by Lin Ming. "We can't completely occupy your world, and you can't completely occupy our world, unless you can endure until your great elder wakes up again. Or if you're confident that you can kill all of our Sage Realm experts, while all of you are still alive." Lin Ming spoke again. His sentence hit the nail on the head. It was impossible for the other party to kill all of the Sage Realm experts on the ground without losing a single person. The body of a Sage Realm expert had already undergone a qualitative change. It would be extremely difficult to lose a single one, and the strength of each Sage Realm expert was almost evenly matched. After all, at this level, one already had an extremely high level of understanding of their own power. Thus, there would only be a situation where both sides would be heavily injured, and even all of the Sage Realm experts would fall. With the Sage Realm expert in the center turned his head. Just now, he had been impulsive, but at this moment, when he calmed down, that was exactly what had happened. In addition, the elves had defected, causing the underworld to lose a Sage Realm expert, and the above-ground world had gained another Sage Realm expert. "Let's go!" A Sage Realm expert spoke, and they all left the battlefield of the above-ground world. In the end, this battle didn't start completely. This was because Lin Ming's words just now had reminded them. At this moment, they once again thought that they were lucky. They returned to the underworld, and continued to wake up the Great Elder. As long as the God-tier Great Elder could wake up, their underworld would be able to control the above-ground world with a single thought. What? As the Sage Realm experts of the underworld appeared, the warriors guarding the rear of the battlefield let out sighs of relief. Just now, all of the Sage Realm experts had released a pressure that made it difficult for them to breathe. In addition, if the Sage Realm experts began to fight, they would be like cannon fodder. They were the ones who didn't want to start this war. A bunch of rats. Now they want to enter our world and be savage. Gandalf snorted coldly, and everyone returned to the palace. Lin Ming bade them farewell, and didn't continue to stay in Giant City, because Lin Ming had received a new piece of news from the Demon King's avatar. At this moment, Lin Ming was going to the location of the information to find a new fortuitous encounter. Lin Ming glanced at the giant city and thought about his days in the underworld. He felt as if he were in a dream. "Let's go." After Lin Ming spoke, he stepped on the spiritual sail and left the giant city, and Lin Ming would welcome a new fortuitous encounter. Lin Ming's destination this time was Mountain Wookiee. This was a place where even magical beasts below level 8 couldn't exist. Mountain Wookiee had 4 places. Of course, people divided it very gently. They divided it into spring, summer, autumn, and winter. However, these 4 plates were all extremely terrifying. So terrifying that even a level 10 expert would not go to Mountain Wookiee. Spring was filled with poisonous insects. Moreover, the level of the poisonous insects was extremely high. A poisonous insect of this level could even control a magical beast of a higher level. This was enough to prove how terrifying the poisonous insect was. And if it were a mage or someone from another profession, even if they were extremely powerful, they would have the possibility of being controlled. As for summer, it was also extremely terrifying. The lowest temperature here was over 100 degrees Celsius, and there were even more places that were over 1000 degrees Celsius. One could imagine the magical beasts that could survive in this place were terrifying. According to rumors, there were even magical beasts that were over level 10. and ordinary people would be unable to withstand it. If it were such a terrifying temperature, even a level 10 mage or other occupation would find it difficult to withstand such a temperature. If they did not have a strong constitution, autumn was also very terrifying. In this place, the vast majority of them were plant-type magical beasts. Plant-type magical beasts had extremely high camouflage, and were even stronger. Their bodies were even more unpredictable. Also, their terrifying devouring ability was something that even ordinary magical beasts could not compare to. As long as one was trapped by them, it could be said that it was almost over. Moreover, one didn't even know where their tendrils extended to. It could be said that it was impossible to guard against them. Someone thought that if he was standing on ordinary grass, yet this grass might be man-eating grass. It had the power of a level 7 magical beast. Moreover, it was man-eating grass from the plains. When someone saw a beautiful flower beside him, he couldn't help but want to go over and smell its fragrance. Perhaps it was a man-eating flower that had the power of a level 8 magical beast. In this plate, it could be said that it was full of life-threatening dangers. As for winter, it was the most terrifying plate among the 4 plates. This plate had the most accurate information to prove that there were level 10 magical beasts among them. These were magical beasts that could contend against Sage Realm experts. Moreover, because magical beasts had powerful physical strength and recovery abilities, even 2 Sage Realm experts would find it difficult to subdue them. The 4 plates were all restricted areas for humans. Up to this moment, none of the explorers dared to enter the mountain Wookiee. This was because they were there to explore, not to die. At this moment, the place where Lin Ming was heading was the mountain Wookiee. Lin Ming was well aware of the dangers within, even though Lin Ming's strength was much stronger than his peers of the same level. In fact, Lin Ming's strength could be said to be invincible, even for those below the Sage Realm. However, facing the mountain Wookiee, Lin Ming still needed to be 100% focused. Forget it! Lin Ming landed on the ground and put away the spiritual sail. Oh! Lin Ming gently waved his hand, and a huge traveling spiritual treasure appeared. This was a high-tier traveling spiritual treasure. It had the fastest speed, the highest defense, and the ability to absorb magic elements. Lin Ming stood above, and after setting his destination, the spiritual treasure soared into the sky. It was not the time for Lin Ming to keep a low profile. At this moment, Lin Ming needed the best speed and defense, and the few high-tier traveling spiritual treasures on Lin Ming were the best choice. Wow! The highest tier traveling spiritual treasure directly released a sonic boom and set off toward its destination at an extremely fast speed. As time passed, Lin Ming was already very close to the mountain Wookiee, and even this place was already devoid of any signs of human habitation. This was because they were also afraid that powerful creatures, such as magical beasts, would appear nearby. The magical beasts in the mountain Wookiee were not things that ordinary people could deal with. To survive here, one had to be at least a level 8 mage or above. Lin Ming had just landed when he saw the sturdy city wall. South, Lin Ming walked to the side of the city wall, and a voice appeared. This was the army stationed here, and they all had very strong strength. Even the weakest had to have the strength of level 7. They were all selected by every empire and sent to this place to be stationed. On one hand, it was to prevent the magical beasts from breaking through the defense line and attacking the humans. On the other hand, it was to prevent humans or other races from accidentally entering. After all, there was a high chance of death after entering. They were great, but of course, it was also full of danger here. I want to enter Mountain Wookiee. Lin Ming went straight to the point, directly explaining his purpose. You're a level 7 mage. I advise you not to throw your life away. The leader of the guards said. After all, it's a pity to die after cultivating to this level. The leader looked at Lin Ming and said, "Thank you for the reminder, but there is indeed something." Lin Ming cupped his fists and said, "Okay, you may go." The leader did not say anything else, and directly let Lin Ming go. After all, the true purpose of their camp here was to guard the magical beasts, so that they would not break through the defense line. As for the humans or other races, they would be doing their utmost to remind them. I'll say one last thing. A level 7 mage will only die if they enter. Don't have any wishful thinking. Before Lin Ming entered, the leader spoke again. Lin Ming nodded. He naturally knew the dangers involved. However, he would definitely not retreat. Lin Ming passed through the defensive line and moved forward again. After all, this defensive line was still a distance away from the mountain Wookiee. This was also why the various empires had pulled apart such a distance in order to reduce casualties. I've finally arrived. Lin Ming looked at Mountain Wookiee, which towered into the clouds and was so huge that it could not be seen. He let out a breath, and what Lin Ming had reached this moment was the spring plate. This plate was the plate that needed the most care, because inside this plate, there were poisonous insects that were everywhere, and could penetrate through anything. If it were the summer plate, one could still use powerful strength to fight against magical beasts. But here, brute force was not enough. to poisonous insects. What they liked the most were life forms that had brute force but no defensive strength. Lin Ming looked at the spring plate that was full of spring and filled with danger and dived in. In Mountain Wookiee, all experts who had reached the Sage Realm would seal this place once every 15 years. However, there would always be some who slipped through the net. Lin Ming had just stepped in when he felt a cold wind blow, and within this, an unspeakable sense of danger rushed straight at Lin Ming. But after Lin Ming strode in, it gave Lin Ming an extremely peaceful feeling. Here, there were actually villages. Lin Ming continued forward and entered a village. Someone's coming, someone's coming. A few children were playing in the water by the river. When they saw Lin Ming, they ran away. That boy. An old lady with a kind face hugged a child in her arms. Which tribe are you from? The old lady looked at Lin Ming and asked. Tribe? Lin Ming frowned. Before Lin Ming came, he didn't have a deep understanding of this place. He only knew some things. He knew about the dangers of spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and what caused the dangers. But after entering, not only were there no poisonous insects here, but it was extremely peaceful. The people living here were all simple villagers. You are a foreigner? Seeing Lin Ming's puzzled expression, the old lady asked Lin Ming, so you're saying that you came from outside, and there aren't any tribes? The old lady asked again. Yes. Lin Ming nodded. Lin Ming really didn't know there was a tribe inside. If he made it up, he wouldn't be able to understand some of the things. Outsiders, it's been a long time since any outsider came here. The old lady sighed. Lin Ming nodded again. The fact that Mountain Wookiee could unite so many empires and set up a defensive line showed how terrifying this place was. Moreover, when Lin Ming entered, the officers and soldiers told him that even a level 7 mage wouldn't have any chance of survival. This was enough to prove how terrifying Mountain Wookiee was. Are you here to look for someone? The old lady looked at Lin Ming and asked kindly. No. Lin Ming shook his head. Have you eaten? The old lady asked again. Dad. Lin Ming nodded. At this moment, was there a purpose? It's good that you've eaten. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the old lady took her grandson home. The remaining few children also dispersed in a hubbub and went to their respective mothers. Lin Ming looked at the old lady who turned around and left. His brows furrowed tightly. She actually left just like that? Lin Ming did not stay any longer and continued to move forward. Lin Ming left this village. He did not expect that there was actually an inn in this place. Lin Ming entered the inn and sat down. Everything was available here, and there were a few special dishes on the menu. Sir, what would you like to eat? Just as Lin Ming sat down, the waiter came over. Just these 2 dishes. Lin Ming pointed at the 2 dishes on the top of the menu and said, Wait a moment. The waiter nodded and went to prepare the dishes. Lin Ming looked around. He could tell that this inn had been cleaned by someone. No matter which corner it was clean and tidy. Moreover, there were many people eating here. The doubts in Lin Ming's heart became deeper and deeper. How could there be so many unarmed villagers in such a place? Even if it was guarded by the army, they were still so far away. Moreover, they had to be careful day and night. Sir, your dishes are here. Just as Lin Ming was thinking, the waiter's voice came again. Yes. Lin Ming nodded and picked up his chopsticks. It's really livestock meat. Lin Ming saw the dishes and frowned again. The dishes on the plate were really made of livestock meat. Livestock didn't have any magic power, and it was also suitable for the unarmed villagers who didn't have any power. This place made it more and more difficult for Lin Ming to see clearly. Sir, what are you talking about? Of course, this is the meat of domestic animals. When the waiter heard Lin Ming's words, he revealed a smile. Lin Ming did not eat the dishes on his plate. He only opened his mouth symbolically. There must be something fishy going on. The calmer and more stable it was, the more suspicious Lin Ming became. After all, this was the most dangerous place in the world. This was Mountain Wookiee. How could Mountain Wookiee, which had become a forbidden area for life, be filled with ordinary people? Sir, don't you like our dishes? Seeing that Lin Ming didn't eat it, the waiter hurriedly asked. No. Lin Ming waved his hand. Let's settle the bill. Since it was the life of an ordinary person, it definitely needed money. Hello, a total of 3 coins. Sure enough, the waiter directly said the price. 3 coins? So cheap? I only had this here. After hearing the price, Lin Ming directly took out a gold coin. This is too much. We have no way to open it here. Seeing Lin Ming take out the gold coin, the waiter was obviously panicking. How about you stay here for 1 night, and I'll serve you a few more dishes? The waiter asked Lin Ming. No need. The rest will be my tip to you. Lin Ming waved his hand. If he were in the inn, he would be like a sheep in the tiger's den. You are so generous. Thank you. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the waiter was so touched that he bowed repeatedly. No need. Lin Ming waved his hand and left the inn. After Lin Ming walked out of the inn, he thought that he had nowhere to go, so he began to walk slowly. looking at the sky that was about to turn dark again. He sat down not far from the inn. Finally, the sky turned dark. Lin Ming activated his dark aura and directly merged into the darkness. Lin Ming began to observe the inn. At night, the number of people in the inn decreased a lot. However, there were still some who stayed in the inn. However, even after observing for a night, the inn was still full of people and noise. Nothing abnormal happened at all. Lin Ming stood up and shook off the dust on his body. Although he had not entered a state of sleep for an entire night, Lin Ming's mental state was still very good. Lin Ming continued to move forward. The area of Mountain Wookie was huge. It was so huge that even a single plate was as big as a huge city. If Lin Ming only relied on himself to walk, it would probably take a very long time before he could walk out of the spring plate of Mountain Wookie. This was under the circumstances where everything was smooth sailing, and there were no obstructions along the way. If there were any accidents, it would probably take even longer. Of course, the number of people buried here was the greatest. As Lin Ming advanced, he actually came to a town. There was actually a town market in Mountain Wookie. If it were said outside, no one would believe it. This kind of thing was like saying that humans were living in the deepest part of the ocean. Moreover, the humans living in the deepest part of the ocean had actually built a city. This made it sound like it was a fantasy. However, what was in front of Lin Ming at this moment was real. Everything that was happening here was real, because Lin Ming had entered the town. Moreover, the market in the town was extremely lively. People were coming and going here in an endless stream. Lin Ming was among them, observing his surroundings without moving. He really didn't fit in. Excuse me. Lin Ming suddenly heard a voice behind him. Lin Ming turned his body to avoid the pedestrians. The people here are really polite, Lin Ming said. In this place, everyone was extremely friendly. At a glance, there were no so-called local ruffians or hooligans. Everyone here was full of smiles when they interacted. Lin Ming didn't even notice the calculating people here. Sir, would you like to buy a set of clothes? A person dragged a few pieces of clothes in his hand and said to Lin Ming, no need. Lin Ming waved his hand. Anything here could become something that bound him. For example, if this set of clothes were some kind of binding spirit tool, Lin Ming would become a living target in an instant. Therefore, Lin Ming didn't move his food, nor did he wear the clothes. Although everything in front of him was thriving and harmonious, Lin Ming didn't believe it. Okay, take care. Hearing Lin Ming's refusal, the shop owner also said a few polite words. They are all ordinary people. Lin Ming looked around. All the people here were ordinary people. No matter what class they were, those with powerful strength didn't exist. Crackle, crackle. Suddenly, the sound of firecrackers could be heard. Lin Ming turned around and saw that someone was actually getting married. To be able to see such a scene in Mountain Wookie was really unbelievable. Those who come have a share, those who come have a share. Each of you takes a piece of candy first. The owner was busy in the house, and the pedestrians were all stuffed with a piece of candy. Lin Ming was no exception. Lin Ming looked at the candy in his hand and could not help but think of the days on Earth. This place could be said to be similar to Earth, other than the fact that the civilization had a bit of a sense of age. Everything else was basically the same. This not only made Lin Ming fall into a trance. Was this really Mountain Wookie? Was this not Utopia? What Lin Ming did not know was that Mountain Wookie had another name, Utopia. Utopia was meant to represent an illusion. This is a blessing from our family. Today's candy doesn't stick to your teeth. The owner laughed loudly and ate a piece of candy. The people who passed by also laughed loudly and ate the candy. Lin Ming was affected by this warm environment and raised his hand. Tisk tisk, using the environment to subtly influence people is really hard to resist. Lin Ming finally knew how terrifying this spring plate was. If he were slightly careless here, he might fall into a trap. After all, here, one would be quickly assimilated into the environment. Meanwhile, Lin Ming was already somewhat trapped in this environment. At this moment, if I return the way I came, Lin Ming lowered his head and pondered for a moment before leaving the town. Then he soared into the air and flew toward the entrance he had entered from. The entrance has disappeared. Lin Ming looked at the village he had seen for the first time. This place was still an endless stretch of farmland. However, the entrance that he had come to had already disappeared without a trace. In other words, Lin Ming couldn't even find his way out at this moment. Yo man, why are you back? Suddenly, a voice sounded from behind Lin Ming. Lin Ming turned his head abruptly. This person was the old lady, whom he had seen for the first time when he had just arrived. You're really powerful. Lin Ming couldn't help but say as he looked at the old lady. I'm already old. I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean by powerful? I'm just an old lady, and how would I be powerful? After hearing Lin Ming's words, the old lady waved her hand and said, you can make me unable to sense your appearance. If you're not powerful, then why are you? Lin Ming smiled and said, you little brat. Have you read too many wuxia novels and said such strange words? the old lady complained. Goodbye, Lin Ming said and left. The old lady was close to him, but he didn't sense it at first. This proved that this old lady was not simple. Lin Ming knew that if he did not sense the old lady when she was near him, this old lady would definitely not talk to him. Instead, she would directly attack him. It was only when he sensed danger at the end that this old lady would ask him why he was back. Lin Ming did not attack at this moment, because this spring plate of Mountain Wookiee was too big. Lin Ming knew that all the ordinary people here were probably not ordinary. This place was like a huge monster that could affect the whole body. Damn it, this guy. After Lin Ming left, the old lady gritted her teeth and said, no wonder I could feel a dangerous aura from this guy at the beginning. This is not a perceptive ability that a level 7 mage can have. The old lady sat on the ground and muttered to herself. After saying these words, she revealed a strange smile. However, it has been so long since I tasted the taste of a human. It is not easy to meet him. I cannot let him escape. The old lady licked her lips. Lin Ming took large strides forward. In the end, he used the spiritual sail to rush forward. He wanted to see what was at the end of the spring plate. Would it be like an entrance, where the exit would disappear for no reason? Wow, there's a guide. Lin Ming was flying in the air. When some children saw him, they all knelt on the ground. Everyone here was putting on an act. It could be said that it was very easy to be paralyzed by them. They used the environment to subtly influence a person, as if they were at the pinnacle of perfection. You can't escape. A voice appeared in a village. If it wasn't for the thick, dangerous aura on his body, he would have become food long ago. This voice continued to appear. Although the dangerous aura on Lin Ming was thick, he knew that Lin Ming wouldn't be able to break through this barrier. In his opinion, Lin Ming could only become food. As expected, it's endless. After flying for a long time, Lin Ming said, entering the poisonous insect's illusion. Lin Ming landed it and said, spiritual sail's level is too low. Some directions can be easily confused, Lin Ming said coldly. The spiritual sail was definitely controlled. Of course, it was only slightly controlled. Lin Ming's sense of direction was already destroyed. Lin Ming put away the spiritual sail and landed on the ground again. Everyone, come out. Lin Ming opened his mouth and looked around, but the only answer to Lin Ming was silence. Tesk, you're really good at acting. Lin Ming sneered. Did they really only think of him as a level 7 mage? Lin Ming had long felt that something was wrong here. Lin Ming knew that these poisonous insects must have extremely strong senses. Otherwise, they definitely did not have so much patience towards Lin Ming. They would not put on such a full show. That's right, it's just that you can control the illusion. But your language ability, Tesk, should be worrying. Lin Ming sat on the ground and spoke again. Young man, what are you doing sitting on the ground? Behind Lin Ming, the voice of an old man appeared. Lin Ming turned his head and saw an old man approaching him. I'm impressed by your acting skills. Lin Ming sneered, and the fire spell in his hand burst out. Immortal, seeing the fire power burst out from Lin Ming's hand, the old man kneeled on the ground in worship. Well, since you are so willing to act, I will fulfill your wish. After saying that, Lin Ming directly soared into the sky. Fiery Phoenix spell. Lin Ming snorted coldly as flames directly surrounded this place. The Fiery Phoenix spell was filled with a huge and intense flame power. As it burned toward the ground, in an instant, a raging fire came from the ground. As the flames burned, cries for help sounded from the surroundings. Test type. Lin Ming turned a blind eye. This place was just an illusion in his memories. Lin Ming came from the earth, so there was no magic here. And if modern people live here, it would be particularly abrupt. So the illusion here became ancient, and there was no magic. I've burned a hole in the illusion, and you're still pretending. Lin Ming pointed to a place and sneered. You're courting death. After Lin Ming exposed this trick, a furious voice appeared. A butterfly appeared in front of Lin Ming. So cute, Lin Ming smiled and said, "You the cute one, your whole family is cute." After hearing Lin Ming's words, the butterfly flew into a rage out of humiliation. It had lived for so long, and it hated most of what others said it was cute. It's not big, and it has quite a temper. Lin Ming moved forward, but as Lin Ming moved forward, the butterfly disappeared from where it was, and what appeared in front of Lin Ming were all kinds of magical beasts. There were even humans, elves, dwarves, and so on, and the jobs here included mage, secret swordsman, berserker, and so on. The levels of magical beasts, humans, and other races were also different, but they all had a common characteristic, which was that they were all controlled by poisonous insects. Leave him to me, this guy is not simple. A voice appeared in the depths. In the air, all sorts of attacks were aimed at Lin Ming. Is there something wrong with your intelligence? You've been pretending for so long, now you're directly attacking. What's the point of all your pretense? Lin Ming snorted coldly and said, D***mene, you brat, you're impervious. You really deserve to die. Hearing Lin Ming's words, an exasperated voice sounded. Lin Ming had been in the illusion for so long, and there wasn't a single flaw exposed. He had let them act for so long for nothing. They were the ones who were furious. They didn't expect Lin Ming to turn around and mock them. "You're a level 7 mage. It's worth it if you can die in such a formation," a berserker said to Lin Ming. However, this berserker's expression was dull, and he could not speak clearly. Lin Ming could tell at a glance that this berserker was already dead, and what was controlling him at this moment was only a poisonous insect. "I'll help you get rid of it. I'll let you know that it was worth it to meet me." Lin Ming's body burst out with fire magic, directly charging towards these magical beasts. Oh! Lin Ming's strong body was surrounded by thick flames. The magical beasts and humans that were attacked directly dissipated in this world. They were grateful to Lin Ming, because Lin Ming had completely freed them. "Let me see where the poisonous insects are," Lin Ming said coldly. "Bloodseeker," Lin Ming said. "Master." Bloodseeker appeared beside Lin Ming. "Kill all the poisonous insects here," Lin Ming said. "Yes, master." Bloodseeker nodded. He hated poisonous insects the most. At this moment, he would complete this task. Following the scream, the eyes of the humans and magical beasts regained their clarity. "Thank you." The humans and other races, who could finally control their minds, kneeled on the ground one after another. Being controlled by poisonous insects, and not being able to control their own bodies, really made them wish they were dead. They had experienced this feeling for too long. At this moment, they were rescued by Lin Ming, and they even wanted to dedicate themselves to Lin Ming. "Control yourself well," Lin Ming quickly spoke. Although they were rescued, they could be controlled easily by other poisonous insects at this moment. And the magical beasts on the side, after being rescued by Lin Ming, also prostrated on the ground, showing their submission to Lin Ming. After all, their level was very high. Otherwise, the poisonous insects wouldn't bother to control them, and would just treat them as food. Thus, these magical beasts had already gained sentience. Following the Wheels of Wrath's attack, the many poisonous insects began to flee in all directions. The Wheels of Wrath was the most powerful divine artifact, even if it couldn't be completely controlled by Lin Ming. At this moment, it could only be used as the simplest close combat weapon. However, it was also the most powerful divine artifact. Even a Sage Realm expert would find it difficult to resist it. And although these poisonous insects had powerful control, and although they were impossible to guard against, and filled with extreme danger in front of the Wheels of Wrath, they weren't worth mentioning at all. As long as they were touched by the Wheels of Wrath, it could be said that they would immediately be transformed into the power of energy and blood, which would be absorbed by Lin Ming. These irresistible poisonous insects were only nutrients for the power of energy and blood in front of Lin Ming. Thus, following the Wheels of Wrath's attack, a barrier suddenly appeared, and this barrier actually prevented the Wheels of Wrath from breaking through directly. After all, the Wheels of Wrath could only be used as a close combat weapon at this moment, and could only display 1/10 of its strength. Therefore, it was understandable that it was blocked. Just that. Lin Ming sneered again. In this place, it was normal to have some strength. After all, there is no way to survive here without strength. At this moment, the Wheels of Wrath were blocked. The hidden boss must have appeared. As a large amount of silk suddenly appeared around Lin Ming's body. These silks were all 1,000-year-old silks. They possessed a degree of toughness that even a level 8 mage would be helpless against. And the binding ability of the silk itself was, needless to say, fiery curtain. Lin Ming spoke coldly. Around his body, a large amount of fire magic elements condensed. These many silks had not even waited for Lin Ming to be bound before they were burned to ashes by the fiery curtain's condensed firepower. Dazzling Dragon Spell. Lin Ming pointed in a direction, and the Dazzling Dragon Spell was filled with powerful energy as it charged in this direction. Although the Fiery Phoenix spell could deal more damage at this moment, it was not enough. But when the Dazzling Dragon spell was used, it would have a higher accuracy. Along with the sound of an explosion, a miserable figure flashed past. This poisonous insect was extremely cunning. The place where it used its defense was very far away from where it was. Of course, Lin Ming could feel it, so he directly used the Dazzling Dragon spell to attack the poisonous insect's location. "You are courting death." Lin Ming strode forward. Darkness descends. Lin Ming spoke, causing this originally dark place to be directly enveloped by darkness, and everything in the darkness was under Lin Ming's control. In the darkness, a flame rose. This was Lin Ming's magic attack power. This poisonous insect was panicking at this moment. It had the strength of a level 8. It could be said that in this place, it was undefeatable. Its strength and its way of existence. When he met Lin Ming on this day, this was the first time it suffered a loss. Furthermore, if it were defeated this time, its life would probably be at stake here. Lin Ming said coldly, and several dazzling dragon spells surrounded this poisonous insect. "I am willing to pledge my loyalty to you." This poisonous insect had controlled humans for many years, thus, it was extremely familiar with the human language. HMPH, Lin Ming only snorted coldly, and this poisonous insect lost its life. Do you know how to leave this place? Lin Ming turned around and asked the rescued human. This is a huge illusion. As long as we break this illusion, we can naturally leave this D*MN place, a mage said. Lin Ming took a look and saw that it was a level 9 mage. Break this illusion. Hasn't this illusion disappeared? Lin Ming frowned and asked. It is still an illusion. The level 9 mage shook his head and said, everyone, please use your physical strength with me to break this illusion. Doo-doo. Lin Ming's words weren't just for the humans. There were other races, magical beasts, and so on. Everyone nodded, and the magical beasts roared to show that they understood. Release your strength together. Lin Ming gave the order, and all the humans, other races, and magical beasts of all levels released their strength together, and all the power they released was gathered at one point. Oh, the illusion here couldn't bear the burden, and at this moment, this point directly exploded. As expected, when Lin Ming looked around again, he saw that this place was full of bones, and it was extremely dirty. The spring that he had just seen, and the harmonious society that he had seen, were all illusions. Even the scene of the battle just now had been an illusion. At this moment, they had all been destroyed. Thank you. After the level 9 mage cupped his fists at Lin Ming, he immediately left. If you leave now, it is impossible for you to escape unscathed. The chances of that are 0. Lin Ming's voice rang in the level 9 mage's ears. But, you are only a level 7 mage. You just happened to save us. The level 9 mage opened his mouth and left without looking back. Test type. Lin Ming really wanted to slap this guy to death. It was fine if he didn't thank him for saving him. However, he actually said such words at this moment. And was he being controlled to be stupid? He had just cast a level 9 darkness spell. Didn't he see it? Following the departure of this level 9 mage, some of the people who had been rescued were also a little shaken. Everyone, the illusion here has been broken. I won't hold you up anymore. Lin Ming spoke to everyone here. Lin Ming could see their thoughts. A few of them thought for a moment and left. And there was still a portion of people who refused to leave. No matter what, they were willing to follow Lin Ming. Of course, Lin Ming did not like to carry a burden with him. After Lin Ming pointed out a clearer path for them, he turned around and left. Roar! Suddenly, behind Lin Ming, a few magical beasts roared. Up until this moment, none of these magical beasts were willing to leave. They had been rescued by Lin Ming, and they wanted to repay Lin Ming. Roar! All the magical beasts just now crouched down, as if begging Lin Ming not to abandon them. Forget it! Lin Ming sighed. Using the stupa, he directly put all the magical beasts into the secret realm. In this secret realm, because there would be cultivators entering every once in a while before, therefore, there were not many magical beasts in the secret realm. Letting them enter at this moment was to fill in this gap. Moreover, Lin Ming thought that these magical beasts knew how to be grateful and did not need to be tamed. As for these humans and other races, Lin Ming had already pointed out a clear path and saved them. Lin Ming was extremely benevolent toward them, but they had other thoughts hidden in their hearts. Lin Ming could not be bothered to look at them at this moment. Lin Ming turned around and left, walking in the direction where the poisonous insect had escaped. Of course, after Lin Ming placed these magical beasts into the stupa, he also told them that they were not allowed to attack the magical beasts that already existed in the secret realm. HMPH, you think you can escape? Following his aura, Lin Ming locked onto this poisonous insect once again. A poisonous insect that could create double illusions. Lin Ming could not bear to let him escape just like that. Bloodseeker, force him into a corner, Lin Ming said coldly. Master. Bloodseeker nodded. The wheels of wrath flew and locked onto the poisonous insect's position. Fiery Phoenix spell. Lin Ming used the Fiery Phoenix spell, sealing off the poisonous insect's escape route. Darkness descends. Lin Ming once again controlled everything here. Dazzling Dragon spell. Just as this poisonous insect escaped again, a dazzling dragon spell closed in on this poisonous insect. Test, you only know how to run? Lin Ming moved forward and stretched out his palm. I'll give you 2 passes, Lin Ming said coldly. I'm willing, I agree. A sharp voice sounded. Then get the hell out. After hearing this voice, Lin Ming snorted coldly. Master. After Lin Ming finished speaking, a poisonous insect appeared in front of Lin Ming. You, little guy, you're quite powerful. You can create double illusions. Lin Ming looked at the poisonous insect and said, this is the ability of our 9-headed worm. If we evolve to the highest level, we can create a 9-layered dream realm. After hearing Lin Ming's words, the poisonous insect said proudly, 9-layer dream realm? Lin Ming frowned. With this power, it could be said that most people would be trapped. What level can you trap? With your current power, even I, a level 7 mage, would find it difficult for you to trap me. Lin Ming said, your level 7 is too different from others' level 7. An ordinary mage or a level 9 mage would find it difficult to escape, the nine-headed worm said. Among the people who were just controlled, there were some level 9 mages. The nine-headed worm hated it the most when others questioned the power he controlled. As long as you are in the illusion, you will be controlled if you take down or eat anything. The nine-headed worm spoke again. Your current strength is at most level 9, right? Lin Ming asked. Yes, it is indeed very difficult to control someone with level 10 strength. The nine-headed worm still admitted to this matter. However, up until now, I've only produced 2 heads, and can only create a double illusion. If a third head appears, then I can completely control a level 10 expert. The nine-headed worm said confidently. Sage Realm expert, how many heads do you need? Only 3 heads were needed to control a level 10 expert. This was simply a monstrous, poisonous insect. Moreover, the upper limit of this 9-headed worm could be understood from its name. The highest level was to give birth to 9 heads. 6. The 9-headed worm said. What's your upper limit? Lin Ming still asked. 9 heads, 9-layer dream realm. A Sage Realm level expert can be controlled by it. The 9-headed worm said. You must have read the myths and legends. Lin Ming sneered and said. What I said is true. It's true. However, our clan has been cursed by the dragon clan. It's very difficult for us to break through again. After giving birth to 3 heads. At this moment, when the 9-headed worm heard Lin Ming's doubts again, it was obvious that it was very unwilling. The dragon clan's curse? When he heard this, Lin Ming's interest was piqued. When Lin Ming was on Earth, he had heard of some grudges between the 9-headed worm and the dragon clan. However, those were also myths and legends. He did not expect that it would really come true in this world. Yes, our ancestors also participated in that great battle and created the 9-layer dream realm, causing many Sage Realm experts to fall into it. Among them, even some of the powerful dragons were not spared. In the end, our ancestors were ambushed by the dragons and cursed by them. The curses of those who have reached the Sage Realm and above can affect our bloodlines. The 9-headed worm spoke in a somewhat indignant manner. Therefore, up until now, the strongest among us 9-headed worms can only reach 3 heads, which is the level of a level 10 expert. The 9-headed worm told Lin Ming about itself. That's useless. Although level 10 sounds very strong, it's still not enough. Lin Ming smiled and said, level 10 strength was one of the few experts in the outside world. Even some of the heads of the strongest families in the capital had just reached level 10 strength. But level 10 strength was really not enough for Lin Ming. Level 10 is still not enough. You really are. Hearing Lin Ming's words, coupled with Lin Ming's constant provocation, he was finally anxious. So, it means that the 3 heads of you will not be able to break through. It is because you have this kind of thinking, Lin Ming said. Whether it was a human or this poisonous insect in front of him, as long as it was bound by his thoughts, no matter what it was, it would be difficult for it to improve again. Don't just stand there and say it. Then why are you only using level 7 magic? The 9-headed worm also did not want to be outdone. Although I am a level 7 mage, I also have 2 elements. The other element, dark magic, has already reached level 9. Lin Ming said. Although this was the power that the demon Cain had transferred to him, it was his own. Also, it has only been less than a year since I started cultivating. Tell me, how long did it take for you to give birth to 2 heads? Lin Ming spoke again, looking at the 9-headed worm with ridicule. Less than a year since you started cultivating? I think you must be dreaming. He had just witnessed Lin Ming's dual element cultivation. He had only spoken to refute Lin Ming to gain some respect. I'm too lazy to talk to you. Have you considered the 2 choices? Lin Ming waved his hand and asked. Lin Ming was very interested in subduing the 9-headed worm, especially after hearing about the 9-headed worm's origin. 2 choices. You didn't say it just now. Tell me now. The 9-headed worm said. Either die or sign a contract with me, Lin Ming said. I knew you would say that. Okay, I'll sign it. The 9-headed worm said helplessly. His life was in Lin Ming's hands at this moment. If Lin Ming wanted to take his life, he simply couldn't resist. One look and I can tell that you have too much brain and enough intelligence. Lin Ming smiled. Look, having one more brain was useful. A wise man submits to circumstances. 2 heads of this 9-headed worm were equivalent to 2 wise men. Oh, Lin Ming spoke. Respected god of contract, I am willing to sign a contract with the 9-headed worm. Lin Ming summoned the god of contract. Respected god of contract, I am willing to serve Lin Ming as my master. As the 2 of them made the contract was officially activated. You are also about to break through? Lin Ming looked at the 9-headed worm and asked. Just now, they had signed the contract. Lin Ming could sense that the 9-headed worm was about to break through. Yes, but after breaking through for a long time, it was still unable to give birth to a 3rd head. The 9-headed worm nodded and sighed, but there was nothing it could do. Let me help you. Lin Ming smiled and directly sent an extremely pure power of energy and blood into the nine-headed worm's body. The nine-headed worm felt an intense heat flow, which attacked its body, causing it to be instantly surrounded by a wave of power. Master, poisonous insects used the spirit of many people as food and then grew. But the upper limit of each poisonous insect was innate. Like the nine-headed worm, it could be said that only a few magical beasts could have this upper limit of growth, and the nine-headed worm's growth ingredient was the power of energy and blood. However, it was very difficult for it to obtain a large amount of the power of energy and blood. After all, if it were to directly devour it, it would only be flesh and blood. It would not have much to do with the power of energy and blood. Moreover, here, if another life entered, the competition would be extremely intense. Here, they were all poisonous insects. Thus, the nine-headed worm's illusory realm would be greatly weakened by other poisonous insects. And here, if the nine-headed worm's illusion was weakened, it would not be able to hold on. Thus, it was very difficult for the nine-headed worm to give birth to a third head. The nine-headed worm cried out in surprise, but quickly closed its eyes and started to absorb the power of energy and blood given to it by Lin Ming. He knew that this opportunity was too rare. Moreover, as a poisonous insect that used the power of energy and blood to grow itself, it knew how pure the power of energy and blood that was given to it by Lin Ming was. At this moment he was like dry ground, being injected with water, desperately absorbing water. Well, suddenly, a crack appeared on the nine-headed worm's head, and with the appearance of this crack, the nine-headed worm's breakthrough had an opportunity. Master, please continue to give me a portion of the power of energy and blood. The nine-headed worm spoke with extreme excitement. It had not been able to break through after so many years. At this moment, it had just recognized Lin Ming as its master, and it had already obtained the opportunity to break through. It could be said that one move from Lin Ming could save it many years of cultivation time. Okay. Lin Ming nodded. The nine-headed worm had now signed a contract with him. The power that it could grow would be useful to him. Moreover, this nine-headed worm only had 2 heads at this moment, and it could control a level 9 mage. This was enough to prove how terrifying the nine-headed worm was. If the nine-headed worm successfully gave birth to a third head, it could directly let a level 10 expert enter the third layered dreamland. In future battles, Lin Ming would not even need to fight. Moreover, it could also control a level 10 expert. This was practically a godly battle weapon. Moreover, the nine-headed worm's growth limit wasn't limited to just 3 heads. 6 heads could create a layered dreamland, trapping even Sage Realm experts within. If it had 9 heads, it would be comparable to a high-tier magical beast like the Dragon Clan. With such a growth limit, Lin Ming was willing to spend some effort to nurture it. Furthermore, it had a contract with him. Unless the nine-headed worm broke through to the god tier, he did not dare to have any thoughts. Rawr! The nine-headed worm's head had finally broken out from the crack. The nine-headed worm's body had already begun to tremble. Of course, this was not caused by pain, but by excitement. However, although the head had been born, it was very small. This was because its strength had yet to reach perfection. Nine-headed worm still needed to grow. However, in Lin Ming's hands, not only had the nine-headed worm broken through, but Lin Ming had also saved it for the remaining time. The power of energy and blood in Lin Ming's hands became even denser, directly surrounding the nine-headed worm. The nine-headed worm fiercely absorbed the power within. As time passed, the nine-headed worm's third head had already grown to almost the same size as the first 2 heads. Lin Ming continued to let the nine-headed worm absorb it. In the end, this last head even exceeded the first 2 heads. Lin Ming stopped injecting his power of energy and blood, and the nine-headed worm also grew to 3 heads in a short period of time. Thank you, Master. The nine-headed worm thanked Lin Ming from the bottom of its heart. Whose deceptive technique is the strongest here? Lin Ming asked. Naturally, it's the blue poisonous bee. That calls itself the Bewitched King, the nine-headed worm said. However, his upper limit is only level 10. Master helped me break through this time, and his strength is no longer as good as mine. The nine-headed worm said respectfully. In the past, the nine-headed worm had been suppressed by the blue poisonous bee. However, it was different at this moment. Because of his bloodline, even if he had just broken through, he could still suppress the blue poisonous bee. Also, his strength has reached its limit. Master doesn't need to pay attention to him. The nine-headed worm spoke again. Okay. Lin Ming nodded. A level 10 blue poisonous bee was indeed not worth his effort. The nine-headed worm that signed the contract this time had the most potential on this plate, and was the strongest poisonous insect at this moment. Let's go to the next plate. Lin Ming opened his mouth and flew toward the summer plate with the nine-headed worm. As the illusion was broken, the exit of the spring plate was exposed in front of them. Sad me. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Lin Ming turned his head. It was the level 9 mage that he had just saved, but had left him. Lin Ming turned his head, but did not make a move, since he was willing to leave, and had no intention of repaying his kindness. Lin Ming did not have the responsibility again. After all, Lin Ming was the one who saved this kind of ungrateful person. He had done his best. With Lin Ming's departure, this level 9 mage was once again controlled by the poisonous insects here, and this time he would be controlled for the rest of his life. Do you understand this plate? Lin Ming asked the 9-headed worm. I don't. Actually, each plate has its own seal. If I did not acknowledge you as my master, without the existence of the contract power, I would not be able to pass through this plate. The 9-headed worm shook its 3 heads and said, Mountain Wookiee had a common seal, and each plate had its own seal. The seal was one layer after another. Thus, until this moment, the terrifying existences of Mountain Wookiee couldn't leave this place and endanger the human world. After all, if any one of them left this place, the outside world would find it hard to resist. The summer plate is extremely hot. Can you resist it? Lin Ming nodded and asked the 9-headed worm. Nez, our physical strength is the same as the dragon clans. The 9-headed worm nodded. That's good. Lin Ming smiled. The 9-headed worm had always compared him to the dragon clan. It was quite interesting. If the 9-headed worm couldn't resist the hot temperature, then all his efforts would have been in vain. Let's go. As Lin Ming spoke, they entered the summer plate. Lin Ming's clothes curled up the moment he entered. Lin Ming smiled and changed into his magic clothes. Lin Ming was a fire mage to begin with, and his body was extremely strong. The temperature here had no effect on Lin Ming at all. It was even beneficial to Lin Ming's cultivation. Lin Ming had a purpose in coming to this plate. According to the Demon King's description, this place had something that Lin Ming needed. The mutated seed of flame. With Lin Ming's current firepower, he had no problems fighting opponents above his level. It could be said that Lin Ming's firepower reached such heights that he was not even inferior to a tier 10 mage. However, Lin Ming only had the power he had now due to the constant polishing of his abilities and his fortuitous encounters. Although Lin Ming had the black fire, which could be considered a mutated seed of flame, the mutation only occurred after the flame's power reached its peak. If Lin Ming could obtain a mutated seed of flame, even if he cast a tier 1 magic attack, it would be a mutated seed of flame attack. Moreover, if he could obtain the mutated seed of flame, even a tier 1 magic attack would become many times stronger. As for the 9-headed worm, although its bloodline was strong, Lin Ming had not intended to subdue it at the beginning. It just so happened to happen. However, he had a goal in mind from the beginning. Before he even arrived at the Xia plate, the mutated seed of flame is in the deepest part of the Xia plate, Lin Ming muttered. The strengths of the magical beasts here are all above tier 7. On this plate, you should be invincible. Lin Ming patted the 9-headed worm as he said, This is all thanks to Master. The 9-headed worm lowered its head and said, How about creating an army of magical beasts? Lin Ming smiled and said, Which man wouldn't like the feeling of being in control, especially the feeling of commanding tens of thousands of subordinates? Yes, Master. The 9-headed worm nodded. Now was the time to show its abilities. Roar! Suddenly, the roar of a magical beast appeared. Lin Ming sneered. A prey came to him. 9-headed worm. Lin Ming simply said, Yes, Master. The 9-headed worm nodded. The magical beast that had just rushed forward was instantly controlled. The magical beast stood obediently behind Lin Ming. Lin Ming sat on the body of the magical beast. In this hot place, although he could not find any way to cool down, sitting on the magical beast saved him a lot of trouble. How many magical beasts can you control at most? Lin Ming asked. Due to the bloodline of the 9-headed worm, if I don't consider the tier of the magical beasts that I control, added by the fact that I have just broken through, and have yet to completely grasp this power, my limit should be around 50 magical beasts. The 9-headed worm said, 50? And that's if you don't consider the tier of beasts you control? Hearing the number of magical beasts the 9-headed worm could control, Lin Ming was immediately excited. The numbers sounded a little low if the tier of magical beasts it controlled was not considered, but if it was 50 tier 10 magical beasts, just thinking about it would make any person excited. Even in the largest family in the capital, only the chief could have this kind of power. If one could have 50 tier 10 magical beasts, it could be said that, as long as no Sage Realm cultivators took action, it wouldn't be a problem for one to sweep through an empire. Yeah, the 9-headed worm nodded. Very well, this time, we'll take all the tier 10 magical beasts here. Lin Ming chuckled and said, If you control them for a long time, will you have a period of fatigue? Lin Ming asked. Although our bloodline is cursed, and we cannot have more than 3 heads, Master, please rest assured about our control ability. The 9-headed worm patted its chest and guaranteed. Alright then. Lin Ming nodded. The 9-headed worm would not feel fatigued from using its abilities, and there was no limit to the number of controls, as well as the tiers of the magical beasts controlled. With this, Lin Ming now had the strength to flatten an empire. Well, let's set this one free. Lin Ming patted the tier 8 magical beast he was sitting on and said, "There was this saying, don't mention streams to him who has seen a great ocean." Since he had seen the ocean, Lin Ming did not even bother to look at this tier 8 magical beast. As the 9-headed worm nodded in agreement, the magical beast's eyes regained their clarity. When the magical beast came to its senses, it recalled the fear of being controlled, and immediately turned around and left. Even for a magical beast with such a strong body at tier 8, its legs were now jelly. Tesk. Looks like magical beasts don't just barge around. Lin Ming clicked his tongue and spoke. Continue forward, Lin Ming said. Right now, they had just entered the Zia plate. Though they had just entered, the surroundings were filled with tier 8 magical beasts. This was enough to prove just how terrifying the strengths of the magical beasts were in Zia plate. However, the higher the tiers of the magical beasts here, the more excited Lin Ming was. After all, Lin Ming had the dream of forming a magical beast army. Lin Ming wished that all the magical beasts he used to form the army could reach tier 10. Either way, with the 9-headed worm here, it could control 50 magical beasts, and all 50 of them could become members of his magical beast army. Roar! Suddenly, a roar appeared. Lin Ming turned his head abruptly. A tier 10 magical beast had appeared. Finally, someone has delivered himself to my door. Lin Ming smiled and looked at the 9-headed worm. The 9-headed worm understood Lin Ming's meaning. The tier 10 magical beast swayed and entered a 3-layered dream. In an instant, the tier 10 magical beast was controlled. The first one, Lin Ming sat on the magical beast and set off. Let's see if the number of magical beasts here can compare against Q plate, Lin Ming said. One had to know that apart from the high temperature, Zia plate wasn't too scary at all. However, Q plate was the one that was full of dangers that were hard to guard against. Lin Ming was currently searching for the path that led to the deepest part of the underground. Therefore, Lin Ming wasn't taking the fastest path. Instead, he had a searching mentality as he started observing the place. Tombstone. There's actually a tombstone here? Lin Ming looked ahead. A tombstone had appeared in front of him. He couldn't help but frown. The place where my good friend died. Looking at the words on the tombstone, Lin Ming did not want to disturb the deceased. Thus, he turned around and prepared to leave. Roar! Suddenly, a magical beast attacked Lin Ming. Coincidentally, Lin Ming was right behind this tombstone. The attacking magical beast smashed into the tombstone, and the beast itself had its bones shattered. But the tombstone did not budge at all. The magical beast that had come attacking was at tier 9. To think that its bones had shattered just like that, no one would have believed such a story. The owner of this gravestone must at least be a sage realm cultivator. Lin Ming couldn't help but say in amazement. At this moment, Lin Ming could feel that this tombstone wasn't simple. However, Lin Ming didn't want to disturb the deceased, who was in eternal sleep. Master, this is a spiritual weapon. This is the longevity monument. Although it looks like a tombstone, it is actually a spiritual weapon that is similar to a door. Bai Han's voice appeared. A spiritual weapon? No wonder. Lin Ming nodded. No wonder the magical beast's bones were all shattered after it smashed into the tombstone. It was apparent that this spiritual weapon was a spiritual weapon at the highest tier. How do I open this door? Lin Ming asked Bai Han. The longevity monument looked just like a tombstone. It was a given that some methods had to be used to turn it into a door. This is a method of acknowledgement. We only need to use the simplest method, Bai Han said. The simplest method? Lin Ming frowned. Yes, attack this tombstone. Bai Han nodded and said, okay. Lin Ming condensed firepower and directly threw it at the tombstone. However, the tombstone was still unmoving. Lin Ming's attack didn't cause the slightest bit of damage to it. Lin Ming smiled instead. It seemed that what Bai Han said was true. Fiery Phoenix spell. Lin Ming said coldly. In that instant, more than 10 fiery phoenix spells appeared behind him. Although Lin Ming's fire magic was only at tier 7, his control over it and the damage he could cause were extremely powerful. Explode! Lin Ming snorted. With this as if it had been hit by a meteorite, the ground where Lin Ming was standing began to tremble crazily. The sound of the explosion caused the surrounding magical beasts to tremble uncontrollably. Lin Ming looked at the tombstone. There are some changes, Lin Ming said as he observed a crack that appeared in the middle of the tombstone. This crack did not appear because the tombstone could not withstand the attack. Instead, the crack appeared because the tombstone acknowledged Lin Ming's power. The crack was like a door crack. As this crack appeared, Lin Ming could feel the mysterious power within. This also gave Lin Ming some motivation. Explode! Lin Ming said once more, and the crack became bigger. Tusk, it really works. This crack was now as wide as a palm. A crack at this width was enough for Lin Ming to feel the ancient aura within. Fiery Phoenix spell. Lin Ming attacked again, but this time, the tombstone didn't move at all. No matter how many attacks it launched, the tombstone did not budge. It seems that there is a threshold for every crack. Lin Ming couldn't help but say, Dark Strike. Lin Ming used Dark Strike this time. This was a tier 9 dark magic attack. However, the attack caused no changes to the tombstone at all. Master, this tombstone can only be opened with fire magic. Bai Han spoke again. Yes, I can see that, Lin Ming nodded. This made Lin Ming even more convinced that a mutated seed of flame was hidden here. Oh, why? Why was it that the door could only be opened with fire magic? If it were an ordinary fortuitous encounter, there would not be such a restriction. Black fire. Lin Ming no longer concealed his strength and directly released black fire. Crack, crack. Even from a distance, one could hear the sound of the explosions. That came from the destructive power of the black fire explosion. Open, Lin Ming said coldly. As the black fire continuously bombarded the tombstone, it directly turned into a door. Without any hesitation, Lin Ming entered the door. The tier 10 magical beast behind him was trapped by the 9-headed worm in the triple-layered dream. Master, this is the space of this spiritual weapon, Bai Han said. The space of the spiritual weapon? Wasn't it said that there can be no living things in spiritual weapons? Lin Ming frowned and asked, could it be that this is a divine artifact? Ordinary spiritual weapons shouldn't be able to ignore the magic of the other elements. Not to mention that the tombstone was so intelligent. Master, this is a pseudo-divine artifact. It has powerful defensive ability as well as its own space. Bai Han said, a pseudo-divine artifact? Lin Ming frowned. He didn't expect that such a thing would exist. Master, although the space of a pseudo-divine artifact can't compare to a true divine artifact, its defensive ability far surpasses that of a spiritual treasure. Bai Han explained, I can see that. Although this space couldn't compare to a secret realm, it was still extremely huge. Lin Ming moved forward. As he did so, the surrounding scenery changed. Please accept the first trial. An ancient voice appeared, and a groove appeared in front of Lin Ming. Please place your palm in the groove. The voice continued. Okay, Lin Ming nodded and placed his palm in the groove. Please exert power into the groove. The first trial begins. The voice instructed Lin Ming as such. Oh, Lin Ming injected his firepower into the groove. 2 types of firepower have been detected in the trial taker's body. The firepower is extremely dense. The trial taker possesses a fire element magic power that is extremely powerful. The trial taker has passed the first trial. Lin Ming had just placed his palm into the groove. Before passing the trial in a few seconds, Lin Ming removed his palm from the groove, and the surrounding scenery changed once again. Trial taker, please proceed to the second trial and accept the baptism of fire. The ancient voice appeared, and a place where flames were gathered appeared in front of Lin Ming. Lin Ming did not even think twice before directly entering the flames. Oh, Lin Ming felt the power of the flames. There is a mutated flame power, Lin Ming said as he felt the power. Even if Lin Ming had powerful strength and was a fire mage, this flame made him feel pain. Lin Ming had always been into body forging, thus, this level of pain was still bearable to him. However, this was just the beginning. Not long after, cracks appeared on the surface of Lin Ming's body. Lin Ming looked at his skin. At this moment, it was falling off piece by piece. Lin Ming's hair was also being burned by this power. As Lin Ming's skin fell off, Lin Ming's flesh and blood began to scorch. All this was even after taking into consideration that Lin Ming's physical body was strong. If it were any other mage, they would have turned into a pile of ashes the moment they entered the flames. The flames are burning my energy and blood. Lin Ming frowned. The power of energy and blood was what Lin Ming had the most. At least under this kind of flame, Lin Ming could still satisfy the flame's need to burn his energy and blood with his power of energy and blood. If it were not for the endless power of energy and blood in Lin Ming's body, his flesh and blood would have been completely burned by now. Rawr. Lin Ming calmed himself down as the sounds of his flesh and blood being burned came to his ears. You want to burn me clean? Lin Ming snorted coldly. The power of energy and blood in Lin Ming's body exploded. The skin on Lin Ming's body grew crazily again. HMPH, the ancient voice sounded. The owner of the ancient voice seemed to have been provoked. The flames surrounding Lin Ming's body ignited and exploded again, and Lin Ming was once again in danger. If Lin Ming hadn't crazily replenished his power of energy and blood just now, the devouring energy of the flames wouldn't have changed at this time. With a grunt, Lin Ming's body actually trembled at this moment. The power was too powerful. As this power became stronger, the flames became even more terrifying. Lin Ming's skin started peeling off again. This time, the pain that Lin Ming felt was even more unbearable. Lin Ming said faintly. The power of energy and blood appeared once again within Lin Ming's body. The power of energy and blood quickly nourished Lin Ming's body once more. The ancient voice completely felt the provocation. This time, the firepower completely erupted. Lin Ming's body crackled under this firepower. An invisible force was pressing down on Lin Ming, attempting to force him to kneel. However, no matter how much Lin Ming trembled and endured the pain, he did not move down even by an inch. This was Lin Ming's pride. This was also why Lin Ming could obtain such powerful strength. To him, the pain was nothing. Even if it was 10 times or 100 times more painful, it could not make Lin Ming fall. You want me to admit defeat? I won't. Lin Ming snorted coldly. The energy and blood in his body seemed to have exploded. Lin Ming's body recovered once again. As Lin Ming's body recovered, the firepower became even more terrifying. It was as if he had entered an endless cycle. Lin Ming continuously repaired his body, while the firepower destroyed Lin Ming's body ever so crazily. Lin Ming knew that the minute he compromised and stopped repairing his body, even if he still nourished his flesh and blood, the firepower wouldn't become more terrifying. However, Lin Ming refused to stop. No one could make him compromise. After an unknown amount of time, Lin Ming's consciousness had become blurry under the terrifying pain. However, even his bodily instinct could not make Lin Ming compromised, nor could it make Lin Ming fall. Nothing would make Lin Ming kneel. Okay. This time, although Lin Ming had repaired his body once again, the response of the ancient voice of the trial had changed from a cold snort to a sound of affirmation. The flames around Lin Ming's body were like flowing water, directly entering Lin Ming's body. Although it was flames that were entering his body, Lin Ming felt a comfortable feeling that made his body tremble. Congratulations to the trial taker for passing the second trial. The ancient voice appeared, indicating that Lin Ming had passed the second trial. The current Lin Ming could feel the nourishment of the flames in his body, and the bounds of his cultivation realm began to loosen. It turned out that the flames not only attack and explode, but they could also nourish. The trial taker's performance was outstanding. As such, the last trial is cancelled. The trial taker has passed all 3 trials. The ancient voice appeared once again. The words the voice said this time surprised Lin Ming. He did not expect that his actions just now would allow him to directly pass the trial. What kid? A voice appeared beside Lin Ming's ear. Lin Ming turned around and found an amiable old man standing next to him. You are the god of fire? Lin Ming looked at this old man and directly bowed. No one could make Lin Ming bow, no matter the pressure put on him. However, respect for seniors could. Lin Ming knew that the person in front of him was the legendary god of fire, the only person who had mutated fire magic. Respect for his senior was enough to make Lin Ming bow. You're not bad, the old man nodded and said with a smile. After so long, I finally met a little guy that I liked. The old man continued to speak, extremely satisfied with Lin Ming. The aura of the demon god. The old man frowned and actually lifted Lin Ming into the air. Lin Ming didn't resist at all. It was practically impossible for Lin Ming to fight against a god-tier expert anyway. You obtain the demon god's inheritance? The god of fire spoke coldly. Yes, Lin Ming spoke the truth, with no regard for what was going through the god of fire's mind. Dual element magic? The fire god placed Lin Ming on the ground, as he nodded and continued. That guy gave you the inheritance and completely died, huh? The god of fire opened his mouth, and his voice was filled with sorrow. The stupa, you must get it. Now that you have the demon god's inheritance, I believe it will be very easy for you to get the stupa's acknowledgement. After all, it was the divine artifact used by the demon god, and the stupa is the summit of the Great Four. Fire god reminded Lin Ming. Although the god of fire and the demon god didn't sound like they were on good terms for such a long time, they had been on the same side. No matter how at odds they were, the feelings in their hearts were real. Yes, senior, I have already obtained the stupa. Lin Ming nodded. From the beginning, when the demon god had mentioned the god of fire, Lin Ming knew that they had quite a good relationship. Good boy, haha. The god of fire patted Lin Ming's shoulder and laughed loudly. However, the thoughts of the demon god in this world have all disappeared. The god of fire said melancholically. I am the thoughts of a senior demon god. Lin Ming lowered his head and spoke, but his voice was full of vigor. God. The god of fire looked at Lin Ming and sized him up before laughing again. Come, give me your hand. The god of fire stretched out his hand and held Lin Ming's hand. Black fire, you are a tier 7 mage, but it seems that you have a lot of secrets. The god of fire said. The aura of the wheels of wrath. The god of fire stretched out his hand, and the wheels of wrath fell into his hand. Kid, why didn't you come out and say hello to me? The wheels of wrath had such killing intent, but not a trace of it showed when it was in the god of fire's hands. Master, Bloodseeker appeared and kneeled on the ground. This was his respect for the god of fire. From the bottom of his heart, the god of fire was the previous owner of the wheels of wrath. It was also thanks to the god of fire that the wheels of wrath became one of the great 4 divine artifacts. Therefore, facing the god of fire, the Bloodseeker directly knelt. Of course, Lin Ming also knew about these matters, because the demon god had told him a long time ago. Master, I'm too ashamed to see you. Bloodseeker actually started crying. Bloodseeker had been extremely hypocritical all his life. But here, Lin Ming could also see that Bloodseeker was not faking it in any way. To this old master, Bloodseeker truly regarded him as his master. Back then, the god of fire was one of the few important figures. Why wouldn't you dare to see me? You have found a good master. My inheritance will be given to him as well. The god of fire said as he sighed toward the divine artifact that once belonged to him. His feelings were complicated. Master, are your words true? Bloodseeker lowered his head and asked. Of course. Since he has passed my trial, he can obtain my inheritance. The god of fire nodded. Moreover, not only did he pass the trial, he even completed it in excess. The god of fire continued. After all, I also believe in the demon king's judgment. That brat is a good for nothing, but he's quite good at judging people. The god of fire moved forward to the front of Lin Ming. 100,000 seeds of flame, listen to my command. The moment the god of fire said as such, countless seeds of flame appeared in his hand. So many! Lin Ming looked at the seeds of flame in the god of fire's hand and couldn't help but exclaim. He originally thought that the god of fire had only one mutated seed of flame. He didn't expect the god of fire to have so many. On top of that, each seed of flame was a different mutated seed of flame. Try to fuse as many as you can. You may take as many as your abilities allow. As the god of fire spoke, the seeds of flame quickly surrounded Lin Ming. The mutated seeds of flame found. Do you want to absorb and fuse? Suddenly, the system's voice appeared in Lin Ming's ear. Lin Ming nodded without any hesitation. Roar! A seed of flame entered Lin Ming's body, and it caused the seed of flame in Lin Ming's body to undergo a change. It could be said that Lin Ming's flame power had increased several times at this moment. The seed of flame that had just entered his body was merely the most ordinary seed of flame, but it possessed such an ability. This made Lin Ming pleasantly surprised. Rawr! Another seed of flame entered Lin Ming's body and was absorbed by Lin Ming. The seed of flame in Lin Ming's body mutated once again. Young man, don't be too greedy. One person can only have one mutated seed of flame. These are the seeds of flame I collected. Back then, even when I reached God tier, I had only fused 3 seeds of flame. Now that you can change the seed of flame that's within you, it's already a great fortune. The voice of the god of fire sounded in Lin Ming's ears once again. Now, do you wish to activate the spirit gathering array? The system's voice sounded. Nah, Lin Ming nodded. The spirit gathering array appeared around Lin Ming. This was a world-class spirit gathering array. All the seeds of flame instantly gathered around Lin Ming. Now, do you want to fuse the seed of flame? What Lin Ming did just now could only be considered absorption, and now it was time to seriously fuse the seeds of flame. Yeah, Lin Ming nodded. Now, mutated seeds of flame, fusion start. War. The seeds of flame around shot into Lin Ming's body like a beam of light. How is this possible? The god of fire watched the scene and said in disbelief. After these seeds of flame entered Lin Ming's body, not a single seed of flame left his body. A system notification appeared. Alice, in this space, all the flame power was being absorbed by Lin Ming. In Lin Ming's body, all the mutated seeds of flame started to merge. Time passed, and under the god of fire's incredulous expression, the fusion began to slow down a little. The flame power in this space was limited after all, and the fusion of the mutated seeds of flame required a large amount of fire magic elements. This is unexpected. I didn't expect to find such an inheritor. I'm so lucky. The god of fire looked at Lin Ming and couldn't help but sigh in amazement. He stood where he was and laughed out loud. It's my fortune. The god of fire strode forward. I'll help you. With this, the god of fire put his arm on Lin Ming's body, and a majestic and dense fire magic directly poured into Lin Ming's body. Although the current god of fire was just a clone, he still had god tier power. Lin Ming's body became straight. The indescribable flame power started to circulate crazily in Lin Ming's body. But Ked, the god of fire couldn't help but exclaim, as he felt the flame power in his clone frantically flow into Lin Ming's body. This wasn't an amount of flame power that a tier 7 mage could absorb. Even a tier 10 mage wouldn't be able to absorb so much flame power. Mutated seeds of flame, fusion complete. After an unknown amount of time, the system's voice sounded in Lin Ming's ears. He actually really fused all of them. The god of fire was still in disbelief just a moment ago, but now that it had actually happened in front of him, he had no choice but to believe it. To think that a tier 7 kit can fuse with 16 types of mutated seeds of flame. This is really unbelievable. You are the real god of fire. The god of fire was extremely excited to be able to obtain such an inheritor. He was so excited that he could not speak clearly. Oh, after absorbing and fusing so many mutated seeds of flame, and absorbing so much God tier flame power, Lin Ming directly broke through on the spot, and became a tier 8 mage. Oh, this was not the end. Lin Ming's aura changed again. He actually jumped 2 levels, and directly broke through to become a tier 9 fire mage. On top of that, Lin Ming was now a P tier 9 mage. Not to mention that Lin Ming had fused so many seeds of flame. Thus, he was not just an ordinary tier 9 fire mage. Just one mutated seed of flame was enough to make the extremely powerful Lin Ming, who could fight above his tier, many times stronger. Now that Lin Ming had absorbed 16 types of mutated seeds of flame, his strength was directly increased by 100 times. What terrifying strength! Even if it was the most ordinary tier 9 mages, one could imagine how terrifying it was when 100 of them merged into one. And Lin Ming was not an ordinary tier 9 mage to begin with. You're so terrifying, you're much stronger than I was back then. Towards Lin Ming, the god of fire did not hide his praise at all. Moreover, what was there not to praise? Facing such a monstrous genius, even the god of fire could not help but feel inferior. Did the Demon King ask you to give me a message in the end? The god of fire looked at Lin Ming and asked. Yes, Senior Demon King said, I wish you good health. Lin Ming nodded and said, health, ha. I have already died to the point I can't be any more dead. This clone is the only one left of me, and he wishes me good health. Good. The god of fire laughed loudly, and in the end, he even had tears from laughter. Now that you've fused 16 types of mutated seeds of flame, I suppose you're invincible below the sage tier. Come attack me, the god of fire said. Back when Lin Ming was a tier 7 fire mage, he was already invincible below the sage tier. Now that Lin Ming had broken through by 2 tiers, and absorbed 16 types of mutated seeds of flame, he was much stronger than simply being invincible below the sage tier. Alright, Lin Ming nodded and attacked. Use your strongest strength and your strongest state. The god of fire spoke again. Oh, Lin Ming's power erupted. Lin Ming's flame power had become transparent. The 16 mutated seeds of flame had made Lin Ming's flame power the most extreme and powerful flame power. Even if he cast a tier 1 fire type attack spell, it would have extreme power. Upon reaching the extreme, everything would become pure. Thus, what Lin Ming had now was the purest form of power. The god of fire, who had been attacked, couldn't help but grunt. He had initially thought that Lin Ming was only invincible below the sage tier. He knew how powerful the mutated seeds of flame were. After all, he was the one who had collected them all. However, there were monstrous geniuses in this world. With Lin Ming's attack, the god of fire knew that his understanding had been too simple. The current Lin Ming's strength had reached a point where he could probably still fight for some time against a sage tier opponent. Of course, if the time of combat dragged on, Lin Ming would not be a match for a sage. But to survive a simple clash, Lin Ming definitely wouldn't have any problems. Good, excellent, the god of fire praised. Before he met Lin Ming, he had always been cursing at others. Although he looked like an amiable old man, for someone who could become the god of fire, his temper was extremely fiery. Looking at Lin Ming now, he suddenly thought of his useless disciple back then. Kid, in the future, your achievements will definitely surpass mine. Even if the path to the god tier has been blocked by those old bastards in this world, I believe that you will break through. The god of fire laughed loudly. Remember, in the future, don't say that you have obtained my inheritance. Just say that you are my last disciple. Understand? The god of fire asked Lin Ming. Yes, senior. It is also my honor. Lin Ming nodded. From these words, one could see how much praise the god of fire had for Lin Ming. Previously, the one thing he had said to his disciple the most was, don't say that I'm your teacher in the future. Don't embarrass me. Why aren't you bowing to me? Don't leave me with any regrets. Before I disappear from this world, the god of fire moved forward and spoke again. Yes, teacher. Lin Ming nodded and bowed to the god of fire. This was a form of respect for his seniors. Good. I didn't expect that after 100,000 years, I would be able to find a decent disciple. Ever since the god of fire met Lin Ming, his laughter had never stopped. My dear disciple, I'll give you one last gift, the god of fire said as he placed his palm on Lin Ming's shoulder. Oh, god tier flame power continuously entered Lin Ming's body. Oh, god tier origin energy detected. Do you wish to absorb it? The system's voice sounded. Yeah. Lin Ming nodded in affirmation. This was god tier origin energy. He would be a fool to say no. God tier energy was already extremely precious, let alone god tier origin energy, which was something that even the sage tier experts of this world couldn't come into contact with. The host's firepower has been sublimated due to possession of god tier origin energy. Current god tier origin energy is at 5%. The system's voice sounded in Lin Ming's ears. 5% God tier origin energy. At this moment, Lin Ming couldn't help but become excited. Today, Lin Ming's fire magic had reached its purest form by his fusion of 16 types of mutated seeds of flame, which had allowed him to advance by 2 tiers in a row, and his strength had been increased hundreds of times. This was enough to make a person go crazy, and now he had actually obtained God tier origin energy. Oh! Lin Ming's body emitted a rumbling sound. Lin Ming's eyeballs turned crimson. Of course, this wasn't because Lin Ming had gone mad. It was because of the change in Lin Ming's origin energy. Lin Ming looked around. He could actually see the outside world through this space. You absorbed all of it? Good. Since encountering Lin Ming, the god of fire had become extremely long-winded. He kept repeating these words again and again. Of course, only he knew what it felt like to be shocked time and time again. Mouse, Lin Ming closed his eyes and sat down cross-legged. Take this longevity monument as my gift to you. You have to know that the Wheels of Wrath were originally not one of the Great Four Divine Artifacts. It was this longevity monument that was one of the Great Four Divine Artifacts. However, during that great battle, the longevity monument cracked and its tier dropped, making it a pseudo-divine artifact. Although this crack exists, it can be repaired. If it is repaired, the longevity monument will turn back into a divine artifact. However, at that time, I was also reduced to tatters, and couldn't repair it. The god of fire sighed and said, back then, he had 2 divine artifacts. One was the Wheels of Wrath, which had the strongest defensive power, and the other was the longevity monument, which had the strongest defensive power. It could be said that with these 2 divine weapons, he could both attack and defend. At that time, it was very difficult for him to meet a worthy opponent. However, that battle had caused all of them to lose their lives. His longevity monument was damaged as well. At that time, he wanted to repair it, but he was powerless to do so. After all, until now, only a remnant of his soul remained in this world. Black Tortoise, the god of fire, spoke. Master, an old voice appeared in this space. In the future, this will be your master. The god of fire pointed at Lin Ming and said as such. Master, is the last bit of your soul about to dissipate into this world? Black Tortoise looked at the god of fire, his eyes blurry with tears. To think that an artifact spirit could shed tears. Alright, you and I don't need so many courtesies. Your body is now broken, and it's because of me. In the future, follow him. He will definitely be able to repair you. You can trust my judgment. The god of fire spoke to the artifact spirit of his divine artifact apologetically. After so many years, only the Black Tortoise accompanied him. Master, I can't bear to part with you. The Black Tortoise lowered his head and said, even if it is so, there's no other choice. I have already passed all my inheritance to him. The strength that has supported me to the end has dissipated as well. The god of fire waved his hand and said, Lin Ming, why don't you activate the master recognition ceremony? The god of fire looked at Lin Ming and said, while enduring the pain of having to part with his beloved artifact. Yes, teacher. Lin Ming didn't hesitate. He knew that the god of fire wouldn't rest in peace until he saw him subdue the divine artifact. Master, Black Tortoise also knew that reality was right in front of him. From now on, Lin Ming would be the master that he had to protect. Greetings, Master. Black Tortoise lowered his head and said, activate master recognition mode. Lin Ming said. Black Tortoise's body appeared beside Lin Ming. Lin Ming dripped a drop of blood onto Black Tortoise's body. This time, Lin Ming didn't have to undergo any trials. To subdue Black Tortoise, he didn't even have to expend any effort to subdue the artifact spirit, but he didn't feel happy at all. The god of fire was about to leave this world completely. Black Tortoise, if you follow me, you might be alone forever. But if you follow him, you won't be alone anymore. By Han, Bloodseeker, why aren't the 2 of you out yet? Come meet your old friend, the god of fire said. With Lin Ming's approval, Bai Han's figure appeared. The 2 of you. Although the Black Tortoise was also an artifact spirit, now that the longevity monument had become a pseudo-divine artifact, he wasn't able to sense the presence of Bai Han and Bloodseeker, who were true divine artifacts. Therefore, Bai Han's appearance made him even more surprised, as Bloodseeker was just at that spot a few moments ago. That's right, this is our master. Bai Han nodded. Although he had not had Lin Ming as his master for long, he was very proud whenever he mentioned his master. After all, Lin Ming was someone even the god of fire, whom he had just met, was full of praise for. These years have been hard on you. Bai Han patted the Black Tortoise's shoulder. This was a mutual understanding that belonged only to the artifact spirits. One had to know that the longevity monument had been with them previously. Both of us have suffered different degrees of injuries. I'm still fine, but you directly dropped out of the god tier. Bai Han sighed and said, it doesn't matter. Black Tortoise waved his hand. I am very happy to be able to take you in as a disciple before I disappear. Then, goodbye. The god of fire stood by the side and disappeared into the longevity monument with a smile. Master, Bloodseeker and Black Tortoise moved forward, but they were unable to stop the god of fire from disappearing. I will definitely not let you have any regrets, Lin Ming spoke. Lin Ming let out a breath and took a step forward, leaving the space in the longevity monument. Rawr! Just as Lin Ming left the space within the longevity monument, a cracking sound suddenly appeared within Lin Ming's body. Oh! An incomparable aura exploded within Lin Ming's body. Maz? Suddenly, a whirlpool appeared within Lin Ming's body. This whirlpool caused all the surrounding magic elements to enter Lin Ming's body crazily. Lin Ming closed his eyes. The surrounding scorching fire magic elements filled the entire whirlpool to the point that every inch of space was crowded. Oh! Even with Lin Ming's powerful body, under this crazy influx of magic elements, he felt as if his body was being torn apart. At this moment, in the sea plate, this kind of commotion. Someone has broken through to the sage tier in Mount Namuki. A huge creature that was crouching on the ground stood up. As the huge creature stood up, it transformed into a human. Let's go take a look. Its figure appeared beside Lin Ming. At this moment, Lin Ming heard a rumbling sound from within his body. The barriers and other things in his body had all been broken through at this moment. It could be said that the body of the current Lin Ming had reached an extreme state of purity. Rawr! The sound of glass breaking erupted from Lin Ming's body. Oh! Lin Ming let out a breath. When he stood up, he found that his realm had already advanced to become a terrifying tier 10 mage. Feeling the terrifying amount of magic elements in his body, Lin Ming could tell that with a raise of his hand, the fire magic elements in the entire space could be manipulated by him at will. This person just broke through to tier 10. Why would it cause such a huge commotion? The humanoid life form that came to Lin Ming's side couldn't help but wonder in his heart. Hello? Lin Ming turned around and said, hello. The humanoid life form nodded as well. Your breakthrough caused quite the commotion, so I came to take a look. The humanoid life form said. You are? Lin Ming asked. I am the guardian of this plate, Tavi. The humanoid said. You are the sage tier expert of the Zia plate? Lin Ming had heard that there was a sage tier expert on this plate. It only confirmed that the Dong plate indeed had a sage tier expert. Now, Lin Ming had confirmed that there was a sage tier expert in Zia as well. As me, Tavi nodded. Although Lin Ming was only a tier 10 mage, he could sense that Lin Ming wasn't simple to be able to cause such a big commotion. While breaking through to tier 10 was enough to prove that Lin Ming wasn't ordinary. Senior, you can devour all power, right? Lin Ming asked Taudi. That's right. Taudi nodded. Facing a tier 10 mage like Lin Ming, he was confident in saying this. After all, he could even devour the attacks of a sage tier expert. Isn't this the 9-headed worm? Your pet? Taudi walked forward and patted the head of the 9-headed worm. The 9-headed worm didn't resist at all. After all, Taudi was suppressing him. Senior, I want to try out my current strength. I wonder if you can help me. Lin Ming lowered his head and said, is that the longevity monument in your hand? Taudi didn't answer Lin Ming directly. Instead, he asked Lin Ming this question. Nod. Lin Ming nodded. The longevity monument had just fused with Lin Ming, and was now the size of a palm, lying in Lin Ming's hand. The god of fire has been searching for a new master for the longevity monument for a long time. Did you inherit it? Taudi actually knew quite a lot. Yes, Lin Ming nodded again. No wonder you can make such a big commotion just by breaking through to tier 10. Very well, I'll agree to your request. Taudi nodded and directly agreed to Lin Ming's request. Thank you, senior. Lin Ming quickly cupped his hands and said, no need to thank me. Come. Taudi waved his hand. Fiery Phoenix spell. As usual, Lin Ming cast the Fiery Phoenix spell. The spell appeared to be, but Taudi couldn't see the state of the Fiery Phoenix clearly. This was because Lin Ming's current fire power was extremely transparent. Though, Lin Ming lightly pointed, and the fire power directly attacked Taudi. Devour! Taudi coldly spoke, and a black hole appeared. Taudi, who had transformed into human form, suddenly took a few steps back, but his expression still changed drastically. Roar! A loud roar was heard, and Taudi was actually hit by Lin Ming, and had no choice but to reveal his true form. The power of a level 10 mage can actually do it. Although Taudi was forced to reveal his true form, he also swallowed this power. After all, if he dodged, his power was enough to blow up this place.